Rodriguez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old Elizabeth Johnson, for crashing his truck twice. Elizabeth claims Timothy is an abusive man.
That's case number 277 on the calendar in the matter of Rodriguez versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Johnson was your girlfriend for a period of time, and it is your claim that on 2 occasions she caused an accident which damaged your truck, and you want her to pay to have your truck repaired.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson acknowledges that there were 2 accidents in the truck while she was driving. Her answer seems to indicate that you told her at the time it was no big deal and you would take care of fixing them. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is that you have bad temper, that you damaged the apartment by putting holes in the wall with your fist, and that at one point you assaulted her. That's her counterclaim. Is that right?
Yes.
Who is this lady?
That's my daughter's mother.
Can you tell me why she's here?
She was a witness to a phone call that I spoke with Elizabeth about my payments to my truck for the damages. And she heard the conversation with her.
And how old is your daughter?
My daughter's 2.
Is that your only child?
I have 2 other children, too.
You thought about that for a second. How old are your other 2 children?
I got one that's 10 and one that's 8.
And who do they live with?
They live with their mother.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Rodriguez?
I'm a union carpenter.
How much do you earn a year?
Roughly about $40,000.
And your 8- and 10-year-old, they live with their mother?
Yes.
And what does their mother do for a living?
She's just a stay-at-home mom.
You must be very wealthy.
No.
Well, who supports your 8- and 10-year-old children?
I do.
How much do you send them?
I send the mother probably about $500–600 a month.
You send her about $500 or $600?
It all depends on how much money she needs throughout the month.
You have a court order, sir?
No.
Even if I believed, sir, that you sent her $500 a month, she's not supporting herself and 2 children on $500 a month. How does she support herself?
Her boyfriend.
She lives with a boyfriend?
Yes.
And he supports her?
Yes.
What does he do for a living?
I'm not even sure.
Don't you see your children?
Yes.
And you have no idea? Well, how often do you see your children?
I see them probably about 3 times a month.
Somehow, Mr. Rodriguez, I'm not getting the sense that I'm getting truthful answers from you, sir. But I'm going to find out. Now, this young lady who's here has a 2-year-old child.
Yes.
You under court order to pay her support?
Yes.
How much?
I pay her $83 a week, a total of $103 a week for arrears, $20 towards arrears of child support.
So there was a time when you weren't paying child support?
Yes, before I got into the union.
And how much do you owe her?
Right now, the remaining balance on it is $600 and some change.
And how does she support herself?
She has a full-time job.
Who takes care of the baby?
Daycare.
Pays for the daycare?
Her and I both share daycare.
How much do you pay towards the daycare?
$43 a week.
So far, is all that correct?
Yes.
$1,221 a month you pay out.
Yes.
Going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you live with?
I live with my mom.
You pay rent?
Yes.
How much?
$300 a month.
You have a car?
Yes.
Pay insurance?
Yes.
How much?
That's $2,300 every 6 months.
$22,000, like $23,000. We're up to $23,000, right?
Yes.
You see where I'm going, sir? You eat?
Yes.
You have credit cards?
No.
Pay for everything in cash?
Yes.
You have a truck payment?
Yes.
What's your truck payment?
$387 a month.
$400 a month?
Yes.
So now we're up to about $30,000 a year.
I also work a second job, full-time.
Oh, the courts know about that?
Yes.
Betcha. They don't. How much do you earn at but they will now. How much do you earn at the second job?
To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure. I'm up to $7 an hour on that job. Sometimes I work 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week.
The reason I'm asking you all of these questions, Mr. Rodriguez, is I was really interested in Miss Johnson's answer. While she acknowledged that she was in these minor accidents with your car, there was a little damage, she says that her mother, I assume this is her mother,
Yes.
was nice enough to loan you $6,000 to pay back child support.
Your Honor, that wasn't all for child support.
What was it for?
Well, it was $1,900 of it went to child support.
So $2,000, according to you, went for
Yes.
child support, and the
Yes.
other $4,000?
The other $4,000, I paid some bills that I had that were past due, and then it was like $2,000 of it that me and Elizabeth went out and spent.
You borrowed $6,000 from her and you signed a note?
Yes.
Have you paid it back?
I have.
Is not an answer.
No.
When did you borrow the money?
May 6th.
I believe it was like July 24th.
May 6th.
Or May 6th. May have been May 6th.
May, July, they sound alike. Why haven't you paid it back?
Elizabeth got a restraining order against me, and the judge told me not to make any contact with them whatsoever.
Are you mad? I mean, is that the reason you're giving me? You have to understand, Mr. Rodriguez. I can tell phonies from at least 10 feet away. The fact that she's got a restraining order against you doesn't mean you can't send a Federal Express to our mother with a payment.
I asked the judge that. He said no contact whatsoever if she wanted her money from me.
Are you kidding me? You mean that but for that, the money would have been in her hands already?
Yes. I went to court the day of the restraining order, and I had to check for her.
Good. Perfect. Do you have it with you?
No, not today.
What do you know? I would have taken it for her. You got a spare check in your wallet?
No.
Take a look.
I didn't bring any checkbooks or nothing today.
See why I don't trust you, Mr. Rodriguez? Because you tell such good stories. You may tell them over and over again. And you actually believe that you can come here and tell me a story.
Your Honor, it's not a story.
Which irritates me.
It's not a story.
Which irritates me. Well, Mr. Rodriguez, you knew you were coming to a neutral setting today. You knew that you owed this lady the money. Nothing would have prevented you from saying, Judge, while I'm here, because I'm asking you as a court of equity to take care of this problem that I have, I want to take care of my debts, and I owe her $6,000. So I would really like to be able to give you the check for her, because I have the money. I'd like to give you the check so that you can give it to her and I won't be violating any restraining order. You got it?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Johnson, I want you to tell me about the first accident you had with Mr. Rodriguez's car.
I was picking him up from work. It was a little wet out, and the tractor trailer was coming into my lane, so I hit the brakes and I hit the guardrail instead of him hitting me, so that's what happened.
And how much damage was done to the car?
I have pictures.
I'd like to see it. And what was the date of that incident?
I'm not exactly sure. It's sometime in June. This is the side of the damage.
And I'd like you
this
to
is
keep
the
your
other side.
voice up because, you know, my hearing isn't what it used to be when I was 12. Oh, well, you did damage to the light and to the bumper. What year truck is this, Mr. Rodriguez?
A 98.
Did you cover this on your insurance?
No.
Why not?
I didn't call it into the insurance company because I feel as though why should my insurance go for an accident she had in my truck?
Okay. Did she say she would fix it?
Yes, she did.
How much is the estimate that you got to fix it?
$23,1509.
And tell me about the second accident, Ms.
The second
Johnson.
accident, we were driving to a second job, and he was arguing with me, and I was stopped at a red light, and the light turned green, and he was still arguing with me, and I looked over at him, and I thought the cars were going, so I started to go, and then I tapped somebody in the back because he had stopped.
You have a picture of the damage?
I don't have a picture
Your
of that.
Honor, I have
There's a
pictures.
little dent in the middle of the...
I'd like to see it.
There are pictures of the car that she hit and my truck also.
Well, that's the same bumper that's going to have to be repaired. When they take the bumper off and they fix it from the first accident, they're going to fix the second one.
Well, the first one where she hit, it was only the side fender and the light and a
No,
couple
no,
of
no, no,
scratches
no,
on
no,
the
it
side of
wasn't.
the bumper.
No, it wasn't. It was down here. And here.
Yes.
And this one is right in the middle, right here. Is that right?
Yeah. And
Well, then they take it off. They'll fix them both. Now, that's your case. What makes you think he forgave this debt?
He told me when he was trying to get back with me after I broke up with him, he said, don't worry about it, I'll pay for it. That's what he said.
No.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Now, is that your complaint against
Also,
us?
I have an estimate from the car rental because I'm going to need to rent a car for a week.
Take the bus. Maybe she'll loan you her car. Now, you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
He damaged my holes in the wall. I mean, the holes in the wall.
You have pictures of that?
Yes. The bruise on
When
my
did
arm.
that happen?
The 22nd of July.
Tell me what happened.
I asked some girl called his phone, and he said, how did you get my number? And he hung up on her, so I called her back. She told me that they had conversations, and he kept saying, no, I didn't talk to her, I didn't talk to her, and he swore up and down all three of his kids that
Just
he
a
didn't
second.
talk to her.
I didn't follow this from the beginning. You have to go through this slowly for me. You know, I'm not really up on this intrigue. You found somebody's number on his phone?
She had called his cell phone. He picked up the phone, and he said, how did you get my number? And then he hung up on her. He got out of the truck to unload a car because we were at his job, and so I called her back. And we were talking.
What'd you do that for?
Just to ask her a
Curious.
question, yeah. I mean, I didn't have any arguments with the girl on the phone, nothing. So I called her back, and she told me that they had conversations, and then we hung up. When he got back in the truck, I asked him if he had talked to her, and he said, no, I didn't talk to her, and he swore up and down on all his kids that he didn't talk to her. You know, for about 3 hours, he kept saying, no, I didn't talk to her. So he told me, go ahead, check on the Sprint bill. So I went and checked on the Sprint bill. 33 minutes of conversation with the girl's number, and he didn't call her.
Your Honor, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
I never denied talking to her.
Yes, you did.
So you had a fight?
It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and, you know, we were fighting, and he said, I'm tired. I said, well, I'm tired, too. If you didn't lie to me, we wouldn't be going through this. He got so pissed off of me, he picked up the candle off my TV with the glass dish, threw it at me, and hit the wall.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Yes, it is.
How did the holes get in the wall, sir?
I seriously don't know. I did repairs on the mother's house for the bedroom, the bathroom, and the outside siding. Why would
That
I
has
damage a
nothing
house
to
that I
do with
just
the holes
fixed?
in the wall.
Just asked you how the holes got in the wall.
I have no clue.
Okay. Did you have the walls fixed?
Yeah, I have an estimate for that, to get them fixed.
Was this in your apartment?
This is in my mother's house, in my bedroom.
Was he staying with you?
Yes, for the 4 months that we were going out, he lived at my house.
Why?
Because she
I felt bad for
she
him.
asked me to move in with her.
I did not.
After the first time that we went out, she asked me to move in with her.
Mr. Rodriguez, we've only just met, you and I.
Yes.
I can tell you're instantaneously attracted to me. If I said to you, I want you to move in with me, would you do that?
No, I wouldn't.
That would be very smart, Mr. Rodriguez.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had marks on your face, and so did he, because you hit him and he hit you. Is
I
that
slapped
right?
him in the face after he threw me on the couch and onto the floor.
It says that you hit him twice.
No, I hit him.
It was more
I
than
hit
twice,
him.
Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Timothy Rodriguez claims ex-girlfriend Elizabeth Johnson owes for 2 accidents with his truck.
I mean, it's so stupid what you said. I mean, do you think you're a stupid man?
No.
You just met her and she asked you to move in with us, so you moved in with her?
Yes.
You have a bridge?
For sale?
Yeah.
I can find one.
You can find one. Okay. According to what I read in your answer, there was something in your answer, Miss Johnson, that suggested to me that you were aware of the fact that Mr. Rodriguez had a bad temper. Is that right, madam?
Yes.
You did. And how did you know that Mr. Rodriguez had a bad temper?
With her. He told me stories. They've been in and out of court for 5 years. She tried to get a restraining order.
Some of it for domestic violence? Is that right?
Yes.
And despite all that, you invited Mr. Wonderful into your house.
Yes.
And your mother, who I don't even want to talk to, was dumb enough to give him money.
Yes.
You must live off a substantial inheritance.
No.
Where did you get the money from that you loaned to him?
I borrowed it off my credit card for him, so he would not go to jail for back child support, which was about $4,000.
Who did you owe back child support to? This lady or the mother of the other 2 children?
This lady.
Stand up. Over there. Did you pursue that matter in court of the back child support? Did you pursue it or did the state pursue it?
I didn't pursue it. They had already, when I had our daughter, I had to call and enter a child support order. We had
Why?
Because we weren't together at the time.
Who was supporting you?
I was living home with my parents, and I had a job.
You never received any government assistance.
No.
So somebody had to report him for not paying child support. That would have had to have been you.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's all. Sit down. Now I got it. Now you say that during this altercation with the candlesticks, he also assaulted you.
Not at that time.
When did he assault you?
I had kicked him out on July 25th. We had a week of nasty phone calls because I wanted my stepfather's tools back that he wouldn't return. And then 2 weeks after that, I was at a funeral, and he called me, he texted me, he said, I'm sorry about your grandfather, and, you know, and then I talked to him again. 2 weeks he was begging me to come back to him, please take me back, I'm sorry, you know, and that's when.
Well, so then you said okay.
I said okay, and about 2 days later, I spent the night at his friend's house with him, and the next day is when I had to get a restraining order against him.
Well, tell me what happened at the friend's house. Well, you didn't learn your lesson yet, Miss Johnson.
Well, we got into an argument, and I wanted to go home, so he...
About what?
About anything and everything.
Your Honor, about one of my roommates that was walking around in a sports bra. That's
One
been
of your...
A roommate
Yeah.
on where I'm staying at now. She was walking around with a sports bra, doing her dishes, and her boyfriend was there with her, and she freaked out on me about her doing that, and I said to her, there was nothing I could do about her walking around with a sports bra on. It's her house, too. I can't say nothing to her.
No.
And this was all the day before I was supposed to go and have surgery that following Monday.
Surgery on?
I had some medical problems.
So we had an argument. Yeah, she was walking in a sports bra.
I don't care if she was walking in a sports bar or if she was walking around with a G-string. It makes no difference to me. I want you to tell me how it came about that you say he put his hands on you.
I'm getting there. So I asked him to take me home. So he took me home, and then on the way home, he, was buttering me up, so I agreed to go back to his friend's house with him. And about 3 hours later, we got into another argument because he was getting jealous because one of my friends was texting me. So then, I said, I want to go home, I want to go home. And he put his hands on me, and he grabbed me and said, no, stay. And I said, no, I want to go home. And I had my bag, I had everything in my hand. He just kept grabbing me, broke my cell phone, he threw it down the stairs. He swung his hands after he threw my cell phone down the stairs and hit me in the eye right here. He threw me onto the couch, onto the floor.
Have a police report?
I do, Your
I have
Honor.
the
I'd like to
restraining order. The restraining order. The temporary
No,
restraining
I don't want to see the restraining
You want the
order. I want
restraining
to see a
orders
police
too? I
report.
got copies of them too.
Of what?
I got copies of the restraining orders too if you want to see them.
Then I'll ask for it. So you had marks on your face, and so did he, because you hit him and he hit you. Is
I
that
slapped
right?
him in the face after he threw me on the couch and onto the floor.
It says that you hit him twice.
No, I hit him.
It was more
I
than
hit
twice,
him.
Your Honor.
Yeah, but according to the police report, you hit him twice.
After he threw my phone down the steps, I hit him on his back, and then he continued to grab me.
I assume you're not going to have anything to do with him anymore, is that right? I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Deal with it. You better smarten up, Miss Johnson. You don't look like a stupid girl, but you've done a lot of stupid things. Now, as far as your complaint is concerned, Mr. Rodriguez, I believe that she owes you for the damage that she acknowledges that she did to the truck. Your estimate was for 23.
I have an agreement, too.
It was for 23-15-09.
2315.
Yes, 09.
We are holding that judgment in abeyance, which means that you will not be getting paid on that judgment. You will get paid on that judgment when this court receives a canceled check, canceled by her, for the amount you owe her. Do you understand?
The full amount?
Do you understand?
$5,300.
Your Honor?
$5,300.
$5,300. When this court receives, sir, proof by way of a canceled check that you have paid the $5,300 remaining on your debt.
Even though we had an agreement signed?
$5,300, sir. When we receive proof that you have paid her, money that you acknowledge that you owe her, is that right?
Yes.
You'll get your check. Do you understand?
Yes.
Goodbye and good luck.
All these are excused. You may step out.
Dolphin, he's hurt that I broke up with him, and I don't want him anymore.
No.
Joseph Delgado Jr. for throwing a cell phone at her car and for breaking her finger during an argument.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 379 on the calendar in the matter of Perez versus Delgado. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Perez, how long were you and Mr. Delgado together?
A little over 5 years.
You have no children together?
No children.
Records indicate that this is not the first lawsuit that you filed against Mr.
It is not.
Delgado. When did you separate from him?
We separated in November of '03. I filed a lawsuit against him when I could find him. He was on the run.
Is that around the time that you allege he both damaged your car, which is the subject of this lawsuit, and assaulted you, broke your finger?
It is.
After that happened, he left. You did not live together anymore.
That's correct.
Now, this is one lawsuit. How many lawsuits have you filed, not about this charge, against Mr. Delgado in total? Because our records indicate you have had other cases against
4.
him. For what?
One's not resolved.
Well, what is it about?
A motorhome. I owned 3 houses, 4 cars, and a motorhome. And he took off with the motorhome. I gave him a car. And the other one has to do with tax issues. He hadn't filed taxes in 5 years. And the other one is the broken finger and the laptop.
Just a second. If he hadn't filed taxes in how many years, what does that have to do with you?
He contacted me to try and help him get it done, for my accountant to do it for him.
When had he contacted you?
May of '04.
Did you lend him money, allegedly?
I did.
Has that case been resolved?
That case has been resolved.
In whose favor?
I dropped the lawsuit because he was crying and pleading to drop the lawsuit that he would make a payment.
Ms. Perez, in May of 2004, did you lend him money or allow him to use your account?
I did not loan him money, but he was using my accountant that I'm in good standing with to do his taxes and didn't have a checkbook to pay him with. So I was taking on the debt because it was my accountant.
Were you speaking to her in May of 2004?
Yes, ma'am. We met with the accountant together on May 15th and signed my taxes. She had all my tax records.
You met together?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you met together, did you have lunch before you went to the accountant?
We met at a restaurant with the accountant.
So
on the way.
I'm speaking. So you had lunch together?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you contact Ms. Perez prior to May of 2004?
I had talked to her several times prior to that.
Where were you when you contacted her?
At the same home I'm at right now. I haven't moved or changed phone numbers.
Did you see Ms. Perez at any time between November of 2003 and May of 2004?
No, ma'am.
Did not see her?
No, ma'am.
That is not true.
That's not true?
No.
When did you see him?
I gave him 30 days to remove his items from the house. I was moving from San Diego to Los Angeles. He never took everything at one time and kept calling once a day to come pick something else up from the house.
So
that
you
went
saw
on
him.
through January 28th of 2004. And I moved on February 26th of 2004.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I can show here where I have papers where I sold my house in Oceanside and it closed escrow on January 12th. I have here canceled checks and loan documents were on January 22nd. I was in Kansas City, already purchased another home. I haven't been back here.
It's so fascinating to me because I'm gathering all kinds of information and you are taking positions, each of you, that is inconsistent with the position that you really want to take with regard to this lawsuit, just to fight with each other.
No, ma'am, I'm not. I didn't touch anybody's car and I didn't touch her, and that's my position.
Well, we're going to get there.
Sorry.
But what you're doing is you're not helping yourself because you're not thinking it through. Let me get there for you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Delgado. According to your complaint, Ms. Perez, sometime in November of 2003, at about the time that you separated, Mr. Delgado damaged your car. And after he damaged your car, about a week later, you got into an altercation and he assaulted you. You're going to tell me about those two things.
Okay.
Because that's what this lawsuit is about. So let's get there, and let's get there, Ms. Perez, quickly.
The assault actually happened on October 3rd of 2003. The last time I ever saw him again was November 18th of 2003.
Well, between October 3rd of 2003 and November 18th, did you live together?
No.
Did you stay together?
No.
Tell me what happened on October 3rd, 2003.
Okay. He used to work at a hotel chain and called me one day to bring 8 kids home. Their apartments were not ready yet. They were to be employed at the hotel he was working. I allowed him to bring these 8 kids home, and it turned into a fiasco for the next 2 weeks until the apartments were ready. I have evidence of what my house was like, what his behavior was like.
I'm not interested. Could we get to the October 3rd, 2003?
Come to find out, he was fooling around with one of the kids staying at my house and would come home daily in a combative mood, and subsequently threw a cell phone at my car out of anger and took my car drunk, pulled into the garage and ran over a hand dolly. I have pictures before he did that, after he did that.
Was that on October 3rd?
The last event was on October 3rd. That was prior to October.
Talking about the car.
The car was prior to October 3rd.
Date?
September 27th.
Between September 27th and October 3rd, did you live together?
He was keeping hours at the hotel. He would stay at the hotel.
Ms. Perez, between September
Not
27th...
as boyfriend and girlfriend, no.
Now, get to October 3rd, 2003.
My cleaning lady was at the house, and we were in the garage. And not to disrupt her cleaning, this is my cleaning lady, we went in the garage. We started having a heated argument over things that were happening with all the kids at the hotel, and it turned into a pushing, shoving, spitting match. He proceeded to spit in my face.
What did you do to him?
Pushed him off of me, and that's how my finger got broken.
Just a second. You said to me it turned into a pushing, fighting, spitting match.
Well,
match is your term. Now you've told me what you say he did to you. You tell me what you did to him.
Happened to be in the same room.
Well, you just told me that you just... Shh. Ms. Perez, you just told me that you broke your finger pushing him
off of me.
Well, how was he on you?
I was on the couch. He was towering over me.
You were on the couch in a garage.
Right. We had a computer, a television, a hockey table. It was like a game room.
So you're on the couch in the garage.
I don't allow smoking inside my house, and that's
You're
why.
on the couch in the garage, and he's on top of you.
Right.
And you pushed him off you.
That's correct.
And you broke your finger.
That's correct.
What else?
My cleaning lady at the time was inside cleaning the house. I went inside, got my keys, purse, and had to go pick up my 8-year-old from school. I went and picked up my 8-year-old from school, took him with me to the emergency room. And because he was with me, I really didn't want him knowing what was going on. So I went to the doctor and told him it had occurred from fooling around. Now, the break was a circular break, and it broke every...
You have the emergency room records?
I absolutely do, and
Good.
Pictures.
Well, can I ask you this question?
I have a diagram.
Shh. I don't want a diagram. I don't want pictures. I asked you for the emergency room records. And if you were going to the emergency room, and I assumed that you were just going to pick up your son so that he wouldn't be left out at school without someone caring for him.
That's correct.
Why didn't you take your housekeeper with you, who is here today, so that she could sit outside with your son if you were going to the emergency room?
She was leaving. She had another job to go to, and she was...
Did you ask her to stay?
No, I did not. I was leaving.
It was an emergency. You were going to the emergency room.
That's correct.
Told the doctor you were fooling around snapping kitchen towels.
That's correct, because my 8-year-old was with me, and I did not want to subject him to all the things going on. He had been around Joe since he was 2, and I really didn't want to crush or make him scared about any of the occurrences going on.
So what are you suing him now for? You don't think your son's going to know about this?
No, I've kept it from him.
Well,
he's in school.
10 million people watch this program, madam.
He's in school with after-school activities.
You got a lot of excuses.
He goes...
Mr. Delgado, you want to tell me what, if anything, you remember about October 3rd?
Your Honor, all I know is that we have a dog named Daisy that was a shepherd mix. We always used to take a towel, and she would get one in, and you'd grab her and she'd like this and play with her. I came home. She said she was wrestling with the dog. Daisy pulled on the towel, and she broke her finger.
Your Honor?
She drove...
I don't want to hear you. You see how quiet he was?
She drove herself to the doctor and came home with the medical report, said her finger was broken, and they were going to wait and see for a few weeks whether she needed to have any surgery or anything else done on it. At the time, we had the same medical insurance. We were in the same house, everything. That was the last I ever heard it until 2 years later. I get my 4th lawsuit from her about that.
Your Honor, I have a diagram drawn by the doctor, the surgeon, of what needs to be done to repair my finger. My cleaning lady was there at the house and can tell you what she heard from inside the house, and we were in the garage. She, come on.
Tell me your name, please.
Yolanda Marcial.
How long have you worked for Miss Perez?
More than 8 years.
8 years. Why didn't you go with her to the emergency room, Miss Marcial?
Because I was working in the house. I was busy in the house, and I just getting ready to leave.
What time of the day were you getting finished with your job?
Around like 2 something.
In the afternoon?
2 something.
And where were you going?
To Oceanside.
What's in Oceanside?
I was working for another lady in Oceanside.
What time do you do there?
Around like, I got traffic around like 4 over there to Oceanside.
How long did you remain in the house after Miss Perez left to go and pick up her son?
When she left to get, around like maybe like 45 minutes.
Did Miss Perez ask you to accompany her to the emergency room?
No.
Did you offer to accompany her to the emergency room?
No.
When she came inside, did she show you her hand?
She walked with the hand like that, and I know that something happened because I heard screaming in the garage and fighting in the garage.
When you heard screaming and fighting in the garage, did you go into the garage?
No. I'm only that cleaning person, and nothing.
You heard screaming and fighting in the garage, and you didn't go in there? Did you call the police?
No.
You just went on vacuuming. Sit down, Miss Marcial. Put your hand down.
I have pictures.
Not interested in the pictures. More interested in the statement that you made to the doctor when you went in there.
I had my 8-year-old with me.
I don't believe that that's the reason you make up that kind of a lie.
I had to.
No, you don't. You have to say, would you go sit over there? And, doctor, I want to tell you privately what happened. That's what you do. I mean, otherwise, the doctor believes what you're saying, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Because you give the doctor information, because based upon that information, it helps them treat whatever's wrong with you.
I came up with that story to protect my child.
No, that's a lot of baloney. That's baloney. I'm older than you are. I've been to the emergency room, both with myself and my children. Over the course of the years, little things happen. And you can always say, go over and sit there with that nice nurse for a second because the doctor wants to see me.
Your Honor, I tried to call 911, and he threw the phone and broke it.
Listen to me very carefully. You were out of the house. You went to pick up your child. You say to her, do me a favor, leave now and call the police. I'm leaving now. I'm going to the police. You did nothing. You did absolutely nothing except go to the emergency room on the 3rd for whatever reason and tell the doctor that you hurt yourself fooling around with a towel.
I was protecting my child.
You
so
keep saying that, and I keep saying to you, I don't believe you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Get over it. Put a period. He doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. It was 5 years out of your life. Move on.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Linda Perez is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Delgado Jr., of damaging her car and breaking her finger.
Now, there's a lawsuit that she filed against you that she won a judgment for $1,000.
No, ma'am, she didn't win a judgment. She dropped the lawsuit. I paid the $1,000.
Tell me about that $1,000, sir.
After we'd split up, we hadn't talked for a while. I was behind on my taxes. Finally, I called Linda a couple times and talked to her, and we kind of were in an amicable position where I said, listen, I need to file my taxes. So she agreed that she would give me my tax paperwork and everything back.
Why did you leave without your tax paperwork?
I left just about everything I had there.
Why?
Because we're just not getting along, and that was enough.
When did you leave?
I don't remember the exact date, but I was out of there by the end of October.
So there came a time that you called her and said to her what?
That I wasn't coming back.
Taxes.
Oh, taxes. Well, I had asked for this before I left California, and I was not.
Fine. So she said she'd give you your paperwork.
And finally, in about April of 2004, and then what she's telling the truth about the account, and we used her account, and I have the paperwork here, and I flew out here on May 15, 2004. We all three met. It was a respectable day. We didn't fight. Nothing happened. We didn't argue. She brought the paperwork. She said the accountant did the paperwork, and she did write the check for the $1,000, and I paid that back. And then I got back to Kansas City, where I live, and then on August 24th, I get from Blockbuster Video a bill from Canoga Park, 10 movies all rented in one day under my name. So I called out there and I said, listen.
Can I see that, please?
I said, I don't live in California. I haven't been in California.
Your Honor, all of our kids have the same Blockbuster card.
Well, yes, they do, and this is where it got real interesting, where Blockbuster knew who exactly rented them. Because our kids before, both of our older boys, would go down and rent movies, and we had late fees, Linda and I went to Blockbuster, and we put a password on our account. So in order to rent movies, you had to know that password. When I called this Blockbuster and said, I don't owe this money, they said, yes, you're the primary person on the account, and the person that used that account used the password to get those movies. They rented all 10 of them one day and never brought one of them back.
That was in August of 2004.
And that's after all this. Sorry.
Okay. Tell me about the return of the $1,000, sir.
I took my credit card at Bank of America in Kansas City, and I went down and put that into her account.
So what was the lawsuit about?
I don't remember all there was a couple of things in there she was suing me for, but that was part of it. Immediately after I got back, she filed the lawsuit. I should have paid it quicker, but I had told her. But we were in contact the whole time. She knew. And then I went down and paid it. Then I flew out here. Then the lawsuit got canceled after I'd flown all the way out here. Then I go back home. Then this happens. It's like this car thing happened, this finger thing happened. But yet we're doing the taxes. We finally got the paperwork settled together. We meet at a restaurant to eat. You know what? You drop the lawsuit. I pay the money. She just said that. Then the Blockbuster thing happens out of no reason. 2 years later, I get 4 more lawsuits. Now I'm going to fly back out here again. And at the time, the finger in the car insurance, we had even the same car insurance until December 12th. We never had any claims. We never had any problems. The health insurance that she went to the doctor with was my health insurance.
Your Honor, he got fired from...
I'm speaking. When did you file the lawsuit with regard to the taxes?
September of 2004.
When did you drop that lawsuit?
The end of September of 2004.
When did you file this lawsuit?
October 27th, I believe.
All right. Ms. Perez, I'm not going to totally annihilate you. I'm just going to do it very, very quickly because, quite frankly, I have more important... I am speaking! Your complaint says that the reason you didn't file this lawsuit sooner was because Joe went on the run and I was unable to locate him because he left the state. In September 2004, I was finally able to find him, and I immediately filed a small claims case against Joe for my car and assault damages. Once he was served, he contacted me, begged me to drop the case, and said he would start making payments. When I received his first payment of $1,000, I went and dismissed the case without prejudice. That is a lie. That's a lie. Because the case that you dismissed in September of 2004 had nothing to do with the car And the assault, I'm speaking, it had to do with the taxes, that he paid you the $1,000, so you dismissed that case. That's what you just told me.
It wasn't solely the taxes.
And you told me that you filed this case September 27th, 2005. Get over it. Put a period. He doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. It was 5 years out of your life.
For filing a false police report after an incident of road rage.
All rise. Now, this is case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of McDonald versus Wahab Rasiniak. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. McDonald, it is your claim that the defendants filed false charges against you. I believe that the charges emanated from an instance of what we've come to call road rage that happened about a year ago.
That's correct.
The defendant said that you were acting erratically, that what they were trying to do was to secure your license plate number so that they could forward it to the police when this incident occurred. You didn't know each other prior to this incident, is that correct?
No. That's correct.
And you had a trial, Mr. McDonald?
Yes, I did.
And you were acquitted?
I was acquitted on all 3 charges in 37 minutes.
When was the incident?
October 24th, 2004 at 2 o'clock.
And what kind of car were you driving, sir?
I was driving a BMW Z3 convertible with the top down.
Do me a favor. Just let me ask the questions and try to give me just the answers that I need.
You bet.
Where were you going, Mr. McDonald?
I had seen an open house sign on a street called Edwards, and I was following an open house sign into a track that I had never been in.
Tell me what happened, Mr. McDonald.
Well, as I was going through the track, I realized that there was a car in front of me. It was driving in an erratic fashion. What I mean by that, it would slow down to about 5 miles an hour, speed up 6.
So listen to me. Don't interrupt him. You're going to have an opportunity to testify. Don't interrupt him.
Sorry, ma'am.
Go ahead.
All of a sudden, I see her kind of go to the right. And I took that as her politely moving off to the right to let me go by.
How many lanes of traffic were there?
This street is a little unusual, and I have a picture over here that I took. If I may move over here to show you. Back here is where I'm seeing all the information going.
I just want to know how large the street was, Mr. McDonald. So that's the street that it was on, so there can be a parked car on either side and 1 lane of traffic.
Easily.
4 car lanes.
Correct.
Keep going.
The minute I went by her car, she lays in. See both fingers go out the window on each side. So that kind of set the mood that was going on. And what I did is I gave a wave like this. My error. But I actually thought that was a polite movement on her in the very beginning. So as I go by, and I'm looking in my rear mirror, I see this go on. They make a left turn. I think, okay, that's the end of it. Instead, they flipped the U-turn and now coming at me. They caught me at the stop sign, and his window's down. She pulls the car right up next to me to the left of my side, and there's nothing but screaming going on. So I looked at Miss Resnick, and I said, "You're driving like an idiot." And then I turned right. They turned left. I thought that was the end of it. Nope. So I'm going down the street here, and as I go down the street, the road, as it shows, veers off to the left. As soon as I got around that corner, they're right back on my butt again. Now the problem is, I have them, having gone off to the left, time's taken, and I think they've got a weapon with them. They're staying between a half a car length and a car length behind my car.
How fast were you going, Mr. McDonald, at this point?
Probably about 25, 30 at the most.
Did you ever accelerate beyond 25 to 30 miles? When?
When we came down the long street after they'd been tailgating me, I spotted people at the very end of the block. I mean, it's like the movie Duel, where I've got these people just bearing down on me. I don't know what they have in their possession.
What kind of car were they driving?
A white Malibu, I think is what it was.
Okay.
Like a mid-sized car. So they're behind me. I see people down at the end of the road. I accelerate and pull immediately in front of their house.
Uncross your hands.
At the exact moment that I'm pulling over, and I get out of my car to yell to somebody to call the police, Miss Resnick takes her car and pulls in front in a wedge fashion.
Okay. So she parks and blocks you.
Correct. And all this whole thing that's going on is predicated on one idea that you said. They wanted to get my license plate. And I can show 15 different times that they could have. The truth meant, sure.
Life has a rhythm to it. There are certain things that are common sense, and there are certain things that are not. You don't have to fill in the blanks for me.
Okay.
If I need for you to fill in the blanks, Mr. McDonald, I'll ask you.
Okay.
Keep going.
So as soon as I get out of the car, She pulls the car over. He jumps out of the car and immediately starts coming toward me. Now, at this point, I take a step toward him, and I say, in the best voice I can, "Get back in your car."
Okay.
"Get back in your car." And it worked. He turned around right there, but Miss Rusnick didn't leave it there. She puts her car in reverse. Your Honor, I have the transcripts of the court proceeding. I have it on audio, and I would appreciate to be able to at least play a couple tracks to give you a flavor of what happened.
She put the car in reverse.
Correct.
Go ahead.
And as she put the car in reverse, Mr. Wahab goes back to the...
Mr. Wahab. Mr. Wahab.
Sorry.
You have problem controlling yourself, sir?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
You have problem controlling your temper, sir?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Well, it sounds to me as if you do, sir. You don't want to create that kind of impression, do you?
No, I don't.
You see, you've already done it. You only have one chance to make a first impression, Mr. Wahab.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've made a bad one so far.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Mr. Wahab gets out of the car. I tell him to go back. He gets back in the car.
You told me that already.
As Miss Rusnick's backing the car up, he jumps in the car, shuts the door, and you think it would end there. No. She keeps the car coming right back at me. I move out of the way, and just like she did at the stop sign, she stops his car door right here, the window's down, and I said, "Get out of here!" Now, let me back up a minute.
When you said get out of here,
sure,
you made a slapping or punching motion.
Correct.
You hit the car?
Correct.
Did you hit it with your fist, with your hand? Did you
Open
kick
right
it?
hand.
Okay. Did you kick the car at all?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And then what happened?
So I hit it 3 times. Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. And as I'm saying that, I see Mr. Wahab either rearing back, like he was going to go back and kick me through the window, which I can't believe could be true.
Fine.
Or
Well, you don't know. Don't speculate.
Okay, well, I see something coming at me. And as I lean back to deflect it, she has the car in drive, and they take off.
Okay.
But they don't. She flips the car around and U-turns. Stops again.
Gosh.
Just on the other side of the road. He pops back out again. I say, "Get back in that car." He gets back in the car instantly. She takes off again. This is what I was thinking.
I don't care what you were thinking.
Okay. I left.
You left. Fine. Do you have a copy of the police report?
Yes, I do.
That Ms. Rusniak and Mr. Wahab filed?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Now, you were subsequently arrested, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
What were you charged with, sir?
I was charged with 242 battery of Mr. Wahab, disturbing the peace, challenging to fight against Mr. Wahab, and then vandalism, property, crime against Ms. Rusnick.
Who's going to speak for you? Both of you to start? Go ahead.
First, I would like to say that this man put my life in jeopardy. He really did.
No, you put your life in jeopardy.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had a cell phone.
No, we did not have a cell phone, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I can prove that they have a cell phone.
I wasn't on the cell phone up until the point where I tried to call the police.
Oh, madam, are you telling me that you just lied to me when you said you didn't? I'm speaking!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tim McDonald says he incurred attorney fees as a result of false charges filed by Camille Raciniak and Michael Wahab. The couple claims Tim was driving like a maniac.
You put your life in jeopardy. I'm going to tell you why you put your life in jeopardy. Because according to what I read in the police report, your statement, you felt as if this man was driving too fast in a residential street. So you decided to try to get his license plate.
That's not all it was.
That's the reason, because there had been no altercation up until that time.
Actually, there was.
Oh, you explain that to me.
Well, as you see the street here, I live on not this street that's cut off, but the one in front of the Suburban right there.
So?
That's my street. I was turning left onto that street.
So?
He almost caused me to have an accident. He went around me on the left-hand side as I was making my left-hand turn.
He was driving, I said, he was driving erratically, and you said he put your life at risk. You put your life at risk.
I admit, I should have never followed him, and I will never do it again.
That's right.
I learned my lesson on that
That's right.
But he did physically assault me and my boyfriend.
Listen to me very carefully. You got hot, and you did a very dumb thing. You followed him, and you followed him, and you chased him several times.
I never...
Yes, you did. You followed him in order to, according to you, get his license plate number. But these are your statements, not mine. You told the police that she was so offended by this vehicle's unsafe driving that they made a U-turn and then made a U-turn back to attempt to get his license plate number of the vehicle to report it to the police. They said they pulled up alongside the vehicle at a stop sign. Well, what'd you do that for? If you wanted to get his license plate number, get his license plate number and call the police, but that's not what you did. And asked him why he was driving so recklessly. So let me figure this out. You were very offended by the way he was driving. You made 2 U-turns in order to catch up with him. That's what you told the police, unless you say the police are lying. And you didn't get his license plate, but you pulled up to him and, according to you, said to him in a calm way, "Why are you driving so recklessly?" Do you know how ridiculous that sounds?
No.
Do you know how ridiculous? I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying to you that somewhere between what you're going to tell me and what he told me is the truth. That's probably why the jury acquitted him. Now, who are you? You are 2 people. He's 1 person in a car. He doesn't know who you are. He doesn't know whether you have good intentions, bad intentions. He has no clue. All he knows is, according to you, you have turned around and followed him on at least 3 occasions. And at that point, you are 2 nuts following him, and he doesn't know what you have in mind. So now what you're complaining about is that he dented your car. I would have hit your car. I would have taken a brick and thrown it through the windshield if 2 people were following me over a dissing incident.
That's not what it was about in the least.
Well, that's what it was about, madam. If you didn't get the license plate number calmly and call the police, you had a cell phone.
No, I didn't.
No, we did not have a cell phone, Your Honor.
Oh, and you had no pen?
No.
No, I did have a pen, but we were unable to get his license plate number.
He was driving too
and my
fast.
first intention was not to get his license plate number.
He had pulled over and stopped.
Your Honor, I can prove that they have a cell phone. I can prove it without a doubt.
How can you prove that?
I wasn't on the cell phone up until the point where I tried to call the police, sir.
Oh, madam, are you telling me that you just lied to me when you said you didn't? I'm speaking. Are you telling me that you just lied to me when you said I didn't have a cell phone?
We don't have a cell phone on us.
Where was the cell phone?
At my house.
At the house.
Just a second. You say you can show me that she had a cell phone in the car?
What they forgot was that they had called 911 from the cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Let me see.
No, I did call.
Mr. Wahab, let me explain to you twice now what you did, sir. You showed me that you cannot control your temper.
I
Two
can
times.
control my temper, Your Honor.
2 times in a courtroom. So if you can't control yourself in a courtroom, what are you doing out in the street when somebody drives by and flips off your girlfriend? Ooh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If somebody had just assaulted my passenger, I wouldn't have said this guy in a BMW had some serious issues.
The operator never let us finish our statement.
Listen, let me tell you something. I heard this very, very clearly. Nobody cut you off.
No.
Nobody cut you off.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tim McDonald claims fellow motorists Camille Raciniak and Michael Wahab chased him down during an incident on the road. He is suing for a false police report.
You have something that's going to show me that they had a cell phone?
Correct.
Show me.
I also have audio tape of the transcripts.
Okay, what kind of car was it? It was a convertible red BMW 2-door. And it was a male driver? Yes. He has some issues. Okay, what's the cell phone number you're calling from? 714. Okay.
2 things I'll show, Your Honor, if I may.
But just 1 second. Mr.
Sure.
McDonald, that doesn't demonstrate to me that they had a phone in the car.
No,
That...
I'm sorry, but I actually have her statement in court saying that she called on the way back to the house.
Let me see. I'd like to see that.
And I also have the certified copy of the
Your Honor?
transcripts complete.
He said that we pulled over to a red curb on the street. There's no red curb on that street,
Mr.
though.
Wahab, we're not talking about red
All right,
curb,
I'm sorry.
sir. The first thing
I don't even know why I'm here today.
Just a second. Well, look at me, and I'm going to tell you. You're here today because he's suing you.
Yeah, obviously.
He's suing you, and one of the things that surprised me about Ms. Rusniak's call to the police is her statement to the police, which I believe said something, and I'm paraphrasing, the guy's got some serious issues. Well, I want to tell you something. If somebody had just assaulted my passenger, as you claim, I wouldn't have said this guy in a BMW had some serious issues. I would have said this guy driving erratically has just assaulted my passenger. He kicked and punched my car. Something is clearly wrong with him. Not in a almost lackadaisical way. I'm speaking. Almost, we can hear it again. Almost lackadaisical way. You're reporting that this guy's got some issues.
The operator never let us finish our statement.
Let me tell you something. I heard this very, very clearly. Nobody cut you off.
No.
Nobody cut you off.
He didn't play the whole tape.
You know, when I said to you before, life has a rhythm, and if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Somebody comes into my apartment in the middle of the night, takes a knife and puts it to my throat, and assaults me. While they're leaving, they steal a teacup. When I call 911, I don't say somebody just came into my house and stole a teacup. I say someone came into my house, put a knife to my throat, and assaulted me. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes,
I heard him in the background.
He was freaking out, and I was trying to be the calm one.
I heard him in the background. All right, let me see where you say she had the cell phone in the car.
Page 31, line 8
Okay.
in the transcript. I have the excerpts, and then I have, and that's a certified transcript.
Now, Mr. McDonald, you think I'm finished with you? I haven't started with you yet.
Okay.
Because I can tell what happened here. Anybody who's lived as long as I have knows exactly what happened.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not sure you weren't behaving a little erratically, and I'm not sure you didn't lose your temper and didn't use a lot of foul language.
I don't use foul language at all, Your Honor. Not at all.
Not according to the witnesses, sir. According to the witnesses, they say that you were using a little foul language.
That's where they're...
That may be.
That's where it fell apart in court. They never showed up.
Well, they may not have showed up for whatever reason, but that's what the witnesses said initially when they spoke to the police, whether they didn't want to get involved, whether they were neighbors, who knows. Page what?
Page 31, I believe it was line 8.
It's what you said, my dear. I'm going to read it to you. You backed up to help your boyfriend get into the car quicker, right? Yes. And then you leave. Yes. Okay, and you don't see the BMW anymore, correct? Not after I drove off. Okay, do you remember when you called 911? Yes, it was right as I was driving away.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No, because...
Well, that's what it says. Now, I would assume that the trial of this case, you remember things more clearly than you do today because it was closer in time to the event. Aside from the fact it doesn't make sense. Everybody keeps their cell phone in a car. So the fact that you say to me I didn't have my cell phone in the car was a crock. How much did this whole escapade cost you, Mr. McDonald?
He was able to do it for $3,500 as long as I supplied him with all the information.
But in court, you said that you got acquitted in 37 minutes. We were there.
No, it doesn't matter. It also, you said
Listen
that you
to
never
me.
touched my...
Third time, you couldn't control yourself. Not the first, not the second. Third time, you couldn't control yourself. So you can't control yourself, and she doesn't know how to tell the truth. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
And, Your Honor, you're
Step
aware
out.
that I have judgments against each of it individually, correct?
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's it. You got it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
His ex-girlfriend, 19-year-old Erica Kallick, for burning his clothes and punching him.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 352 on the calendar in the matter of Chavarria versus Kallick. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Chavarria, the defendant is your former girlfriend, according to your complaint, after an argument at your sister's house. Is this your sister?
That is correct.
Ms. Kallick assaulted you, and later she burned some clothes that you had been laundering at her house. Ms. Kallick says she didn't burn your clothes, she doesn't know what you're talking about, but that you assaulted her during this altercation, and she is counterclaiming. Now, when did this altercation take place at your sister's house?
On October 7, 2005.
Tell me about it.
I was in the process of moving my clothing from my friend's house to my mom's house. So I asked Erica if I can do my laundry at her mom's house, and she said yeah.
Why didn't you do the laundry at your mother's house?
Because she doesn't have a washer and dryer.
Do you have a key to that house?
No.
How did you get in?
Her brother was there.
Who was this?
That's her brother.
Did you let him into the house?
No, he wasn't there. Like, I don't remember him letting him in.
Don't speak. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and I did my laundry, and there's some things that I dry, and then there's other things that I hang up. So I hung up all my clothing in her closet.
You hung up wet clothes in her closet?
I hung up my jeans, some of my work shirts, a couple sweaters, and that's about it.
Go ahead.
So I went and picked her up at about 12:30.
Where did you pick her up from?
From school.
Where do you go to school?
At Spokane Community College.
What are you studying?
I'm going for administrative systems.
What time did he pick you up at school?
12:30.
And where did you go?
We went back to my house.
When you got back to your house, was his laundry dry or wet?
When he left him from his friend's house, they were still in his trunk. He never did laundry at my house. He was going to, but we ended up going to go look for apartments to live in.
How do you know they were in his trunk?
Because he had brought them from his friend Mike's house.
What I'm asking you, Miss Calick, is how do you know his clothes were in his trunk?
Okay, I don't know. I'm assuming that they were.
Fine. What did you go to your house for?
Because we went and got a paper, and we sat there at my house and, like, circled apartments and called and made appointments to go look at the apartments.
Where was your brother?
He was in his room.
Did you see him there?
Yes.
Did you go into his room?
Yes.
He didn't come out to you. You went into his room.
Well, not at this time. He was...
I'm just asking you a question.
No, I went into his room.
That's what I asked you. Next.
When we were looking for apartments, we went to one place, and we didn't really like it, so we decided to go to my sister's house, Clarissa. Me and Clarissa's ex-boyfriend went to the store, and when I came back, my friend Mike said Erica's in the room talking to her ex-boyfriend. So I went to listen on the phone to see if it was true, and she was on the phone talking.
Just a second. What do you mean you went to listen in on the phone?
I went into my sister's room to
And you picked up the extension?
Yeah.
That's pretty gross.
Okay. Then I went into the room and asked Erica why she was calling her ex-boyfriend, and then she said, "Why do you care?" And I was like, "Because I'm your boyfriend." I was like, "Would you want me to be calling my ex-girlfriend at one of your brother or sister's house and then be trying to hide it from my sisters like you're doing, like you're going to go cheat on me or something?" Then she got up and she's like, "Oh, you're always so jealous," and she started cussing me out and screaming at me. Then I took the phone from her, and then that's
How
when
did you get the phone from her?
Because I told her to leave.
Well, so far, all I'm hearing is, and I said to her, how would you think you would feel if it were me talking to an ex-girlfriend at your brother's house? And I took the phone from her. Tell me how you took the phone from her, sir. The phone is in her hand, yes.
And then I grabbed the phone from her.
Okay, well, now we get to the grab part. You grabbed the phone from her hand, and what happened when you grabbed the phone from her hand?
I told her to leave my sister's house.
You grabbed the phone from her hand. Did she pull back?
No.
She just gave you the phone?
She didn't give it to me. She tried to keep it in her hand.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Pay careful attention. Life has a certain rhythm to it. There are certain natural things that happen. Yeah. And when you get to be my age, things become more natural. You know, if it doesn't make sense, it usually doesn't happen. So that she's talking to the ex-boyfriend on the phone. You go to grab the phone out of her hand. She pulls back. You pull back. So now you're in a struggle for the phone, right?
Correct.
And then what happened, sir?
So I had the phone in my hand.
How did you do that?
I took the phone from her hand.
You overpowered her.
That is correct.
And?
And then that's when she hit me in my temple and once in my nose. And then I pushed her. And during the whole thing, that's when my sister walked in and was trying to pull us away from each other. And so I was walking outside, and that's when Erica pulled me back in and was hitting me all over in my neck, in my chest, in my back. And then I hit her in the eye because it was for self-defense. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't get away from her.
So the police came, and what happened when the police came?
Okay, before the police came, I was outside smoking a cigarette, and then Mercedes, Erica's daughter, came outside and asked me if I can give them a ride home. I said, yeah, and that's when Erica came barging outside and slammed the door open, and this door hit Mercedes in the face and gave her a bloody nose. And I was like, Erica, what are you doing? And then she said, look at my eye. And then I was like, look at my face, Erica. Look at what you did. If you didn't hit me first, I wouldn't have defend myself.
What injuries did you have on your face?
I had cuts and bruises above my eye, under my eye. I had a couple lumps on my head. And
when the police came, did they arrest you?
No.
Did they arrest her?
No, because she wasn't there. She left before the police came.
Did you
can
file
I tell my part of the story? Because this...
I'm going to get to you.
Okay. Well, no.
I'm going to get to you.
Okay.
Does anybody have a copy of the police report?
No.
No.
According to the plaintiff, you had a prior incident involving domestic violence with him. Is that true?
Correct.
When was that?
June 2nd, 2005.
Were you taken into custody on that day?
Yes, I was.
How did you assault him?
I slapped him.
So that you're not a stranger to slapping him.
Oh, no. I've done it before.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just because you're the woman doesn't give you the right to put your hands on another person. And if you put your hands on another person, you hurt them a little bit, and they hurt you a lot, that comes under the category of too bad.
And later today,
If you don't pay child support for your child, you're a bum.
Yeah, basically.
Perfect.
It would have been his second time going to jail for not paying his child support.
That's a bum times two.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Gabriel Chavarria says ex-girlfriend Erica Kallick owes for burning his clothes and punching him. Erica is countersuing, claiming Gabriel gave her a black eye.
What happened when he pulled the phone away from you?
He didn't even pull the phone away from me.
So tell me what happened when he came into the bedroom, which you acknowledged that he did.
Yes.
Came into the bedroom and you got into a heated argument about you're allegedly speaking to a former boyfriend.
I wasn't speaking to anybody. It was his friend Mike that was talking to my ex-boyfriend because they're friends, and they were going to go out to a party or something.
So you never got on the phone to say hello?
No, never.
So when he came inside and said, what's going on? Let me hear.
He stood up, and, well, I stood up because I was sitting on the floor. And
what were you doing sitting on the floor?
We were all sitting on the floor.
Who's all?
Me, his friend Mike, and his other sister.
You mean the two of you weren't alone in the room at the time?
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
And I stood up because he got on the other line and he heard my ex-boyfriend talking, but I wasn't speaking to him. So he came in and said that I was trying to call him, and it's just common sense that why I wouldn't call my ex-boyfriend at his sister's house. So I stood up and he was calling me all these names and pushed me, so I pushed him back and he hit me in the room. It wasn't in the living room or where he said it was. It was in the room, and I fell back on the bed and got up and then pushed him again, and we just kind of got in a fight, but I didn't punch him or slap him or anything. And then he had a scratch right here, and that was the only thing that he had. I have pictures.
Just a second. He had a scratch from what?
Well, I'm guessing I scratched him. I don't remember.
Well, you must have scratched him because according to you, all I heard was I pushed him.
No, and then we got into a fight. But I didn't punch him or anything, like he said.
You scratched him?
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
I guess.
Let me ask you this question, madam. If you scratched him and he just had a little scratch over here, you think that he overreacted by punching you in the eye?
Yes, I do.
That's too bad. If you put your hands on somebody and scratch them, give them a little scratch, sometimes you get, listen to me, sometimes you get the worst of the deal. Somebody's going to get the bad part of a bargain every time there's an altercation, a physical altercation. Somebody's going to get hurt a little bit more than another person. And just because you're the woman doesn't give you the right to put your hands on another person. And if you put your hands on another person, you hurt them a little bit, and they hurt you a lot, that comes under the category of too bad.
It was in self-defense, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Listen to me. That comes under the category of too bad. You can't scratch him and then say, well, I can scratch you, but you better not punch me in the eye. You better not give me a black eye. Now, when he gave you the black eye, were you angry?
Of course.
And then you went home with your daughter. Now, did you hurt your daughter that day?
No, I didn't. She got a bloody nose, but I did not do it.
Well, who did it?
I don't know.
That should have been your primary concern, not your black eye, how your 4-year-old daughter got a bloody nose.
It wasn't. That was not my concern.
Listen to me. Because according to him, he says he knows how your daughter got it. You came, you opened the door on her face, and that's how she got a bloody nose. Then you put her in the car and you took her home. When did you notice her bloody nose?
Right away, right when it happened.
Well, if you noticed it right when it happened, how did it happen?
Because my back was faced toward her, and then she started crying. I said, what happened? She goes, I got hit in the nose, and it was bleeding. That's the only thing. Then I grabbed her and walked downstairs and walked to my mom's work because he wouldn't give me a ride home.
Let me see an inventory, sir, about what you allege was in her house.
All my clothes were in her house, but I had to go and get new clothes. These are just the receipts of all my clothes that I had to buy. And here's a letter from my supervisor from all the scratches and cuts and welts on my head.
Listen to me. I believe she assaulted you. I believe that you hit her and gave her a black eye. Terrific. That's quite a way to behave in front of a 4-year-old. Put your hand down. You went in there angry. If I believe what you say, sir, if I believe what you say, which is different from what she says, you put your hands on her first, only by trying to take the phone away from her.
That is
You
correct.
struggled over the phone. You have no right to put your hands on anybody in an aggressive way. Put your hands on her in an aggressive way if I believe you. I believe somewhere in between these two stories is the truth. But if you each wound up with a couple of scratches and a black eye, it sounds to me like you deserved each other. How do you know she burned your clothes?
My sister called her later that night and asked Erica how she was doing, if her eye was okay.
Up here. Tell me your last name.
Chavaria.
Did you speak to her later that day on the 7th of October?
Yeah, I called.
Just a second. You called to ask her if her eye was okay?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said it was still black. It was still hurting.
And?
I asked her how her daughter's bloody nose was, and she said it was better. And I said, well, Erica, don't throw away his clothes. And she said, no, tell him I'm going to burn him and throw him away. I said, Erica, don't cause drama, because, and then she's like, no, and then she hung up on me.
Sit down. You had jeans, sweaters, work shirts. How many work shirts?
About 10.
Get out of here. Let me see the bills that you have. Let me see the bills that you have.
Nana, can I say something?
Go ahead.
When she called me, she never asked about his clothes because his clothes were never at my house. She asked me if I was okay. And I was like, yeah. I said, why are you going to call, now and ask me if I'm okay when she didn't try and do anything when he hit me?
What about when you hit him?
What do you mean?
Did she try to do anything when you hit him?
No. She tried breaking us up and saying, Gabriel, just stop.
All the clothes that you purchased, sir, were $453. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $453. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out.
I didn't want to be with him anymore. I was showing it. He obviously got the hint now.
She never even hinted that to me.
He had a car. He gave me money, and so that's why I was with him.
See, that shows you the type of girl she is right there.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Torres versus De Jesus. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Ileana Torres is suing her ex-fiancé, 25-year-old Benny De Jesus, for a loan to pay his child support. Ileana says Benny was in danger of going to jail for the second time.
How old are you, Miss Torres?
23.
And you, sir?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a professional esthetician.
What about you, Mr. De Jesus? What do you do?
An electrician.
How many children do you have, Miss Torres?
Just one.
How old?
He's 5.
Does he live with you?
Yes, he does.
Who supports him?
I do.
How many children do you have, Mr. De Jesus?
One, Your Honor.
Where does that child live?
Lives with his mother right now.
And who supports your child?
Well, I pay child support every month right now, and she has physical custody of him.
Do you pay child support for Miss Torres's child?
No, ma'am.
Because it's not your child.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be stupid for you to pay child support for Miss Torres's child because the child doesn't belong to you.
Yes.
Child has a mother and a father,
Yeah.
and the mother and father should pay child support.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what your lawsuit is about, Miss Torres. You and Mr. De Jesus had the unfortunate experience of being engaged to each other for a period of time. And while you were so involved, Mr. De Jesus fell behind in his child support, among other things. But this is what your lawsuit is about. And is your claim that you made a loan to him so that he wouldn't go to jail to pay his child support.
Yes.
Now, Mr. De Jesus says she paid the child support. You acknowledge.
Yes, I did. Yes, she paid it for me.
But it was a gift. Now, do you understand my preliminary questions?
Oh, yes. Clear as a bell.
So I asked you a couple of seconds ago, Mr. De Jesus, you wouldn't pay child support for her child, right?
Yeah.
Because the child's not yours.
Nope.
Child has a mother and a father.
Yep.
Parents are supposed to pay for their own children.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And if you don't pay child support for your child, you're a bum.
Yeah, basically.
Perfect. How much did you give him to pay the child support?
$2,400.
And how much time was he facing in jail if he didn't pay the child support?
2 years.
Ah.
It would have been his second time going to jail for not paying his child support.
That's a bum times 2. Now, Miss Torres, I mean, he's easy to take care of, you know. I could take care of 10 of him with this pinky. 10 of him. My question to you is, you don't look like a marginal person, articulate, You look somebody in the eye when you speak to them. You have a child that you support, lives with you. What are you doing with him? I mean, are things so desperate out there that you got to pick a bum who's got one child and has fallen behind twice in child support to the extent that the second time they were going to put him in jail for 2 years? You're going to get your $2,400 because that's what he owes you. Because he doesn't want to pay for your child, and you shouldn't have to pay for his. Right, Mr. DeJesus?
Yeah, but
right.
It wasn't $2,400. She only gave me $1,000. The rest of it I raised myself.
Show me the $2,400, Miss Torres.
She knows that it was $1,000 that she gave me.
This is the check.
And the rest of it was raised
This is the check
up
that
and
I
all
had
put
signed.
together.
This is where it came out of my son's bank account.
Because the money was deposited in there so that we could write a check out for it because I can't get cash.
And I got my money in there.
She knows that the reason the money was deposited was so that I could write a check out because I had to have record of the money that I'm paying.
No,
for
and
my
I
child
have
support.
a piece of paper.
Well, no time around the withdrawal of this $2,400, sir, did anybody put in $1,500?
It was sporadically put in. It was $200 here. As I kept raising the money, I would put the money into the account because the court date was coming. When the court date came,
you should have kept better
we
records.
deposited.
What kind of an excuse did you give to the mother of your child every time you didn't send money?
I mean,
Checks in the mail.
We both spoke. We speak every time we see each other. She knows if I'm late and when she's going to get her money.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. DeJesus. Yesterday, did you eat dinner?
Yeah.
And you have a cell phone?
No.
You have a regular phone?
No, actually, no. Thanks to Miss Torres here, I don't have nowhere to live actually right now.
I was paying for everything for you.
She took my car.
Miss Torres,
threw my clothes away.
Does he have a problem that's eating up the money that he's earning from being an electrician?
From what I'm concerned, I don't know. But
You don't
when
know.
I met him, he did have problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
All I'm doing is telling you, I know. And you have a responsibility because you have a 5-year-old child. You're only supposed to bring the right kind of people into their lives. You got it?
Yes.
Judge for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,400. That's all.
Is suing 15-year-old Jaron Howard and his father, Jerry Howard, for a refund on merchandise she purchased over the internet. Jessica claims Jaron sold her counterfeit sports jerseys.
Now, this is case number 180 on the calendar in the matter of Barillo versus Howard and Howard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Barillo, you found Jaron over here, who is how old? 15, Jaron?
Yes, ma'am.
On the internet.
Initially, I did not know he was 15.
That's not what I said, but you found him on the internet.
Correct.
And somehow went into a business arrangement with him, which you're going to describe to me. He was to provide you with certain merchandise, and you were going to decorate some of the merchandise, and then there were some T-shirts that he sold you that you were going to resell that was supposed to be authentic sports T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave him how much money?
$3,610 in money orders.
And he doesn't deny that you sent him the $3,610. And is it safe to say, Miss Barillo, that the only merchandise that you received is that merchandise that you have there?
These including 2 pairs of shoes.
2 more pairs of shoes?
These are my shoes. I'll explain what they're doing here. But
okay, what's in the box?
These are counterfeit designer jerseys, the initial 15 pair that the defendant had sent me.
By the way, your defense is she got what she paid for, and I'm a minor anyway. So tell me what you were supposed to get for this $3,610.
I was supposed to receive 15 authentic designer jerseys as well as 14 pairs of shoes for my $3,610. I have a contract if you
Can I see it, please?
Yes. You take notice as well.
Did he sign that contract?
Yes, as well as about 4 other people that I'm not sure who they are.
You understand, Miss Barillo, that this isn't a very good contract.
Of course, Your Honor. That's why they took the necessary precautions of sending the money order certified mail.
What I'm telling you is this contract doesn't say much.
A lot of it was verbal agreement, Your Honor.
Well, let's start with this. Contract has to be specific. Now, we're not even getting to the point that young Jaron over here is 15 and can't sign a binding contract. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you understand that?
First time I made the contract.
So the first time you induced somebody to sign a contract with you, you knew that they could not enforce it against you. You knew that.
Yes, ma'am.
That makes you a scam artist. That makes you into a thief. That means you're taking somebody's money knowing that they can't come against you because you're 15. That's pretty slick. Where'd you learn that? From your father?
No.
I'm serious.
No.
Where did you learn it? You didn't learn it
Nobody.
from your father. I'm sure your father, who's laughing, probably tried to teach you the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, so if you didn't learn it from your father, which one of your thug friends did you learn it from?
I don't have any thug friends, Your Honor.
Yes, you do. Thugs are thieves. That's what you did. You entered into a contract with this lady who sent you $3,600 knowing that if something went wrong, she could not come against you because you were a minor. You've just admitted that to me. That makes you a thief. Is that what your father raised?
No, ma'am.
You think that what your son did was wrong?
I think what he did with the contract part was wrong. The part about him sending her the counterfeit or knockoff or whatever the hip-hop culture calls it was correct. He sent those to her, and that's what she wanted. I believe just that she knew that these were
Well, let me
knockoffs.
ask you a question. This question, Mr. Howard. I'm not a genius when it comes to hip-hop clothing, but I am a genius as to what people sell on street corners.
Yes, yes.
And if I can go and if I can buy a T-shirt for $5 on a street corner that's not authentic, why would I pay $100 for it if it was a fake? If I could buy a good fake for $5, why would I pay him $100 for a fake?
Well, Your Honor, I believe that she's in that business of selling counterfeit stuff.
If she's in the business of selling counterfeit stuff, why would she buy stuff from your son at a premium?
That I don't know. He's 15.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
He's 15 years old.
Listen to me, Mr. Howard. He's a 15-year-old slick.
Okay.
Are you following the common sense of what I'm saying to you?
I follow you, Judge.
If I can go to the local guy on the street corner who's selling
Yes.
pocketbooks that look like other pocketbooks that may be in my closet, and if I can buy those for $2 on the corner, why would I send him thousands of dollars over the internet?
Because I believe that she thought she could make a profit. Your Honor,
So just a minute. She could make a bigger profit if she bought it cheaper than $3,600.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Borello says 15-year-old Jaron Howard ripped her off. Jessica says Jaron sold her over $3,000 in counterfeit sports jerseys.
How do you feel?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're all right?
Yes.
You didn't have lunch today?
Breakfast. Breakfast.
Not enough. Did you get something?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, we were on you, Jaron.
Yes, ma'am.
She was supposed to get a lot more merchandise than she got, Jaron. What happened to it?
Well, after she got this merchandise, I told her I had $900 left, and I told her that
$900 left out of the $3,600?
yes.
No, you mean that stuff? Just a second. Shh. That stuff that she has there, these counterfeit T-shirts and 2 pairs of shoes, cost $2,700?
Yes.
How much profit did you make, Jaron?
I only made $50 per jersey.
You made $50 per jersey.
Yeah, but I get the jerseys for $100, and I sold it to her for $150.
A piece?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Meanwhile, she didn't get everything that you guaranteed that she was going to get. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you want her to do is you want her to accept partial merchandise, and you'd be prepared to give her back some money.
No, the rest of the money was going towards shoes, and the shoes that she wanted, they were $79 a piece. And there was no more shoes in the city, so I could get them, so I was going to send her money back.
So did you send her money back?
No, I told her I was going to send her money back. She told me she had an emergency and to don't send the money back, and I never heard from her then.
Why would I have you not send my money back?
All right. Miss Barillo, were you under the impression that these were regulation, authentic T-shirts?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
What happened when you went to try to sell them?
I initially got the jerseys. They looked great. I thought I've never seen an authentic jersey before. So they look great. I went to my local malls. I met a sales representative. I showed him the jerseys. He took 2 samples. He turned out to be a sales representative for this jersey company who was working alongside a private investigator. He was trying to get me to go to jail because he thought I was running the scamming business of selling fraudulent jerseys.
He found out that I did not even know Jaron. I had nothing to do with knowing that these were counterfeit jerseys.
Can I see one?
Yes. You can, if you'd like to see the difference, the company has actually lent us borrow a real jersey, and this is a fraudulent jersey. You can see the difference.
Real.
And now that I just...
Could I see this, what she's talking about, the stitching on the side? Or, I don't know. You know, sewing was never one of my strong suits. That along with cooking and anything else domestic. Okay.
Well, the color scheme is different.
Oh, look at that. And I didn't realize that.
And the tag, Your Honor, it's very poorly.
Whatever. Somebody looks at it fast, like me, who doesn't know one group from the next. They look pretty close to me. Okay, so they're fakes, right?
Yes.
Jaron, they're fakes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know you can't sell fakes, right?
Yes.
You knew that before.
Well, yeah.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
You knew that if you got caught selling fakes, that they would close you down if they could find you on the internet, didn't you?
Yes.
And did you figure that they couldn't hurt you because you were 15?
No.
Did you think that they could send you to jail?
I never thought about it.
What would you think about? Did you think about the fact you were doing the wrong thing?
No, I never thought I was doing the wrong thing.
Well, you knew they were fakes. You knew you're not allowed to sell fakes. You just told me that.
I know.
Well, then you knew you were doing the wrong thing. So, you know where you got these fake T-shirts from?
Yes, the internet.
From the internet. Well, the internet doesn't have a brain. It doesn't eat. It doesn't go out to the movies. It doesn't go out to... You got it from somebody through the internet.
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that?
It was a website. They said they had a place in New York because the address is in New York.
Did you ever go there?
No, I've never been there.
Did you ever call there?
No, I never called.
And when was the last time you purchased from them, Jaron?
The time I brought these jerseys, about a year ago.
Why'd you stop?
The jerseys were out of style. I couldn't sell them. I couldn't wear them.
And you miraculously stopped a year ago? Was she your only customer?
I was selling jerseys to my friends and stuff.
And your friends were buying them from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Because they like the fakes, right?
I guess, yes. Yes, ma'am.
See that box of junk over there?
Yeah.
It goes back to Jaron.
Okay.
Those are your shoes?
These are my
Now you
shoes.
want to tell me the story about the shoes?
This is just initially how he contacted me. I do shoes like this, and I had a pair on eBay. And he wanted me to initially do some shoes for him. He said he did the same thing by painting shoes and selling them.
Is that what you did?
Yes, I did them for myself mostly.
He said he sold them to rap stars.
No.
So that's how you got started.
Initially,
All right, those
No,
are-
I didn't say I sold them to rap stars.
Yes, you
okay?
did, Jaron.
Where are the two pairs? I'm not so sure you're completely innocent in this whole thing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
If you took the keys and you put them in your pocketbook and you put your pocketbook under your pillow where you slept, nobody would have gotten their hands on the car keys.
You put your keys under your pillow when you sleep.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Borello says 15-year-old Jaron Howard ripped her off. Jessica says Jaron sold her over $3,000 in counterfeit sports jerseys.
Okay. Mr. Howard, you are responsible, sir.
Yes, I am.
You are responsible because he's your son. You knew what he was doing. All you had to do was ask the questions that I'm asking, and you would have recognized, if you didn't at
Yes,
the
Your
time,
Honor.
that your son was doing the wrong thing.
Right.
So you and your son are getting back all that junk over there, and she's going to see to it that you get the 2 pair of shoes as well that you have. Clear?
Clear.
Good. What?
There were 4 pair of shoes.
Show me that you delivered 4 pair of shoes.
There were 4. There were
I
4
will
pair of
buy you
shoes.
2 extra
No,
pairs.
just a
Jaron.
second. Did he give you 4 pairs or 2 pairs?
2 pairs, Your Honor. That
Your
was
Honor,
it.
I was with Jaron when we bought the 4 pair of shoes.
Okay.
Me and my wife was with him.
Okay.
I
How
did
much did
not.
you spend for each of the 4 pair of shoes?
You could deduct that.
They were 84 something with tax.
Okay. $3,511. Bird, he gets all the junk and she gets her money back. Thank you very
Will
much.
do.
That's all.
Price
Gotta do the right
excused.
thing, young man.
You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Richards versus Highsmith. Step forward.
Caretaker Algerine Richards is suing her niece's friend, 27-year-old cashier Jamelia Highsmith, for damages to a rental car. Jamelia says a friend took her keys without permission and wrecked it.
Miss Richards, Miss Highsmith is a family friend.
Yes.
And she is a close friend, according to your complaint, of your niece.
Yes.
The defendant and your niece were planning to go on a trip. They needed a car. Ms. Highsmith asked if you would rent a car for her.
Yes.
And she would be the authorized driver.
Yes.
Why did you need someone else to rent the car for you?
Because I couldn't rent one without a credit card.
And you don't have a credit card?
No, ma'am.
So you were asking Miss Richards to do you a favor?
Yes, ma'am.
And she did?
Yes, ma'am.
That was nice of her.
Yes, ma'am.
And you signed that you were the authorized driver on this trip?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, Miss Richards, you get a call that someone else was driving the car. The car was in a bad accident. Since Miss Highsmith was the only one who was authorized to drive the car company's insurance disallowed the claim.
True.
And they are holding you responsible for all of the damage to the car, and until it's paid, you can't rent a car yourself, and you're going to have this judgment against you on your record.
Yes.
And Miss Highsmith says it's not her fault. So you're going to explain to me, Miss Highsmith, why it's not your fault.
Oh, well, on January the 12th, me and Kawana and her friend, Ann, we went to see my boyfriend, and I put the keys on the counter, and I fell asleep, and I get a knock on the door saying that the car was in a wreck. So I asked Kawana how. She was like, she let Ann hold the car, and I was like, so we just went straight to the scene of the accident, and we called Miss Algerine. And from there on, I thought everything was all right. Miss Algerine came to me, and she was like, she ain't going down for this, so I need to press charges on her niece, stating that I didn't give her, which I didn't give her permission for the keys, but at the time I went to do that, they gave me a hassle because I was the co-driver and I wasn't over the rental car. I was just the driver of the car.
Why weren't you more careful with the keys?
If I lay the keys down, if I don't tell nobody to pick them up, should nobody pick them up. That's what anybody
Let me ask you this question, Miss Highsmith. As between you and Miss Richards, who do you think is more responsible for what happened to the car? Between the two of you?
Neither.
No. You have to listen to what I'm saying. I want you to listen to my words. As between you and Miss Richards, who's more responsible for what happened to the car?
I still say neither.
Well, let me put it to you this way. She was home in what state when the accident happened? And in what state were you and the car?
I was in Florida at the time. I hadn't been to Chicago.
Just a second. In what city in Florida? Were you both in the same city?
No, we was not.
What city were you in?
I was in Lake Wales.
And where were you?
Arbondale.
And where was the car?
In Arbondale.
And how far from where she lives was Arbondale?
About 30 minutes.
So she would have had to have a very, very long arm to have responsibility for that car.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Miss Highsmith, as between you and Miss Richards, she did a good deed. You had control over the car. If you had taken the car keys and put them in your pocketbook and put your pocketbook in a safe place, nobody would have gotten the car keys. Isn't that right?
Was in the safe
No, listen
place.
to what I said. If you had taken the car keys and put the car keys in your pocketbook and put your pocketbook in a safe place, nobody would have gotten control over the car keys, right?
They was in a safe place.
No, they weren't in a safe place. You told me you put them on the counter.
If it's my belongings, I should have to tell nobody not to touch my stuff.
The only thing I fault you for is having bad judgment, because this lady is, you know, so thick, it's almost like molasses pouring from here to here.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing is her fault.
True.
If you took the keys and you put them in your pocketbook and you put your pocketbook under your pillow where you slept, nobody would have gotten their hands on the car keys.
You put your keys under your pillow when you sleep.
I put my valuables away when I'm in a hotel, when I'm in somebody else's house. I don't take off my rings and say, nobody else should touch that. I don't want anybody else to touch that. And I don't take out my wallet and leave it on a counter in a hotel and say, nobody else better touch that. I put my things away. Maybe the reason why you had to go to Miss Richards in the first place in order to rent this car is because you are so irresponsible that a credit card company wouldn't give you a credit card. Because even my 8-year-old grandchild is offered a credit card.
I don't want a credit card. That's why I don't have a credit card.
Listen, no, you don't have a credit card because you probably overextended your limit when you were 18 and 19 and 20. Don't tell me you never had a credit card because you don't want one.
I never had a credit card. I have cash.
So I assume that you have enough cash to take care of all of your bills. Can I see the estimate of the damage, please, from the credit card company? And Ms. Highsmith, if you believe that someone else is more responsible than you are to pay for this, sue them. Do you understand? Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $3,889.49. And if you think that the person who took these car keys from where you left them on the counter should pay this bill, that's what courts are for. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was great.
Physical therapist Sylvia Schuler for hitting her in the face during an argument in a restaurant. Sylvia says Patricia was harassing her while she was breastfeeding her baby.
This is case number 110 on the calendar in the matter of Height versus Schuler. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Ms. Height, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you in a restaurant.
Correct.
You are suing her for damages, not so much for the injury that you sustained, because she, according to you, hit you in the face, but for the emotional distress that you suffered. You didn't have any medical bills, did you?
A few.
Ms. Schuler said that she did, in fact, strike you, but that is only after you lunged at her. So tell me when this happened and what precipitated this altercation.
On December 27th last year, my husband's relatives were in from out of town, and we went out to eat some Mexican food. We were sitting in a crowded lobby. I had a party of 12, 7 children and 5 adults. And I was sitting talking to my husband's aunt, and this woman walked in and plopped herself down on the bench next to us and proceeded to lift up her sweater and put this child at her breast. And I sat there for a minute and trying to talk to my husband's aunt, and I eventually said, you know, I really don't think this is the proper place to be doing that in a crowded restaurant lobby. And she said, mind your own business, and I'll do whatever I want, and if you don't like it, don't look. So I looked at my husband's aunt, and we opened our eyes kind of wide at one another. And I said, well, at least you could take this to the restroom. And she said, I'm not going in that restroom. It's filthy.
So you kept on going back and forth after she cursed at you? Are you telling me you said something else to her?
Well, I did. I said, you know, at least you could go and excuse yourself to the restroom. And she says, I'm not going in that restroom. It's filthy in there. That shows what kind of a mother you'd be. And I said, lady, I gave birth to 4 children, all of which I breastfed. But when I did it in a discreet manner and never in a public forum like this. And at that time, the hostess came up and told us our table was ready. And I got up, and I had forgotten to pick my bag up off the floor. And when I turned around to pick up my bag, she came up out of her chair and hit me across the side of the face.
Did you sit down and have dinner?
No, we didn't.
You left?
Correct.
Where did you go?
Outside. My husband had asked the manager to call the police, and he said, if you want to call the police, take your business outside. So we did.
And did you call the police?
Yes.
You have a police report?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. What kind of medical attention did you require?
The next morning on Sunday, I went and saw my primary physician, and he checked out my face, and the next day I went and had an x-ray of my jaw.
It was okay?
It's okay. I was in a lot of pain for about 2 weeks, and my jaw, after she hit me, my jaw, it didn't sit right on my face, and I'm telling my husband, this woman just hit me, and I was holding this side of my face because it hurt more over here for some reason. My doctor told me it was a whiplash effect. And she looked up at me from her bench and said, what the hell are you holding that side of your face for? I hit you on the other side.
All right, Ms. Schuler, let me hear your version of the events.
Okay.
How old is your baby?
My baby at the time had just turned a year old. She was probably approaching 14 months. And I had my 3-year-old son as well.
Okay. Tell me what happened at the Mexican restaurant on the 27th.
It's ironic. We had a choice of like 6 places. We chose this place. We went in, and the lobby was just packed. I went up to the hostess, and I said, how long of a wait do you think it is? And she said, 5 minutes. I said, oh, that's great, because my kids aren't going to be able to wait very long. And I turned around to tell my husband, and as she said,
which is the husband?
My husband is. And as she told me that, the plaintiff's husband was sitting where I eventually sat, and he said, "You've sat 40 people since we've been here." And I thought he was yelling at me, so I just kind of noticed that he said that and, you know, just made a mental note. Told my husband, "It's only going to be 5 minutes. We can do this." And the plaintiff's husband had stood up and demanded to see the manager because he felt they were waiting too long. And he left his seat. So I sat down in his seat. And I started to breastfeed Aubrey because she started to kind of squawk, and we don't like our kids to cause disturbance in public, so started to nurse her very carefully. However, when I started...
Tell me what you mean very carefully.
I always am very careful not to be real obvious. I had on a thick, heavy cotton beige sweater, and I get my bra down so that it's ready, and then I get her right up to me, and then I make sure the sweater was kind of nuzzled around her face. And I'll tell you how discreet it was in a second. But when I began breastfeeding her, they were talking to the manager. And he told them, he said, "Yes, we had to clean the tables." And the plaintiff says to him, and I'm sitting here, I don't have anything to do, so I'm obviously listening. And she says, "Well, what did you have to do? Take them out back and refinish them?" And I just thought, oh, these people are really mad, because that was the second comment I heard. So the man sitting next to me, eventually I found out was in her party. But my daughter was kind of flicking her leg like this, and it kind of got his attention. So he leaned way over into my space and said, "Hi, honey, what's your name?" And she kind of waved at him, but never came off the breast. I had my sweater around. He went back to his seat. I didn't want to embarrass him and say, "Excuse me, sir, but I'm breastfeeding," you know. I didn't want to I just wanted it just to go. Then she says, "Well, sure, just whip it out," in front of the whole lobby. And she didn't see me whip anything out because I had been breastfeeding for some time. And the poor man says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even know she was nursing."
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When she raised her sweater, she exposed her breast.
She got so close, she was this close, and I slapped her while I was sitting and breastfeeding my daughter. I didn't know what. I was afraid.
Sticks and stones, but you can't use
But I didn't even
force.
have sticks and stones.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Height says Sylvia Schuler hit her in the face. Sylvia says Patricia was harassing her because she was breastfeeding her baby in a restaurant.
Go ahead.
So she says another few comments like, "You should go to the bathroom." And I finally said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but you are extremely rude." Because I'd seen her being rude to everyone, and now she was being rude to me. And I did have a dialogue with her. I'm sorry, I don't use words like okay, or I don't talk like that. That's not in my vocabulary. I'm not saying I've never cursed, but I don't curse to people I don't know, most definitely. And she said I should go to the bathroom, and I said, "Where would you like me to sit in the bathroom? On the toilet? I can't nurse my child on the toilet." And I said, "There's really nowhere to nurse." I said, "I guess you don't believe in nursing." And she said, "I nursed 5 children, but I was much more discreet." And I asked her, I said, "Well, what can you see?" And she just rolled her eyes. She couldn't see anything. So my husband says to her husband, "You know, I'm sorry if my wife's breastfeeding is offending you, but she does have the right to feed my daughter wherever she would like." I'm not sure of all their dialogue because they were over there. She kept at me, and so my husband turned and said to her, he said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but if it offends you, look away." And that's when her husband reeled around and said, "You don't talk to my wife that way, and I'm going to kick your effing ASS." And then that went on, and I'm just kind of watching going, oh no. And I'm getting very worried what's going to happen.
It was getting out of hand.
It was. And so the manager...
Who's the manager?
This is the manager of the restaurant.
Come up here. Tell me your name.
Peter Holder.
Did you observe this incident?
Parts of it.
Did you observe when Miss Schuler hit Mrs. Height?
No.
If you didn't observe this assault, why are you here?
To help shed some light on the disposition and the nature of the plaintiffs and how aggressive they were.
I'd like to hear that. Go ahead.
Rarely do you have I encountered somebody as hostile and aggressive as this.
Who?
The plaintiffs. They when they came in, we told them it would be about 20 minutes, and for a table, it takes you have to put a certain number of tables together for 12 people.
Did they have a reservation?
No.
Okay. So you told them it would be about 20 minutes?
Yes. And 10 minutes later, the hostess came and got me. I was back in the kitchen and said, this man would like to see the manager. He's very upset. So I went out and, how can I help you? And he says, you're seating all these people ahead of us. We've been here way past 20 minutes. It had been 10 minutes. And I said, well, a lot of our tables only hold 2 and 4 people, and that's who we're seating. We have a place all picked out for you, waiting for one more party to leave. And that's when Patricia, I believe her name is, said...
Mrs. Height.
Mrs. Height said, what do you have to do, take them out and revarnish them? And I went, whoa. And right after the incident, the plaintiff's husband threatened using that language him again, and that's when I asked him to leave.
What did you hear?
I should kick you.
So they were angry?
Very.
Okay, have a seat. All right, Ms. Schuler, tell me what happened after Mr. and Mrs. Height's name was called and indicated that their table was ready.
I believe what got her so angry was that her friend sitting next to me was apologizing profusely, saying, and I didn't realize he was with them until this. And he said, I'm so sorry, and I don't know what's going on with them, and I don't know why they're acting like this. And I said, do you know those people? And he was saying yes, and then their table got called. So he was apologizing to me. I was talking to him. The plaintiff and the aunt stood up. The aunt passed. The plaintiff came over to us and said to him, stand up. You don't need to apologize to her. And as he passed me, she lunged at me and said, he didn't come here to see the likes of you. And she got so close. She was this close, and I slapped her while I was sitting and breastfeeding my daughter, still breastfeeding, and I slapped her because she came so close. I didn't know what. I was afraid.
Well, you know that you can't do that.
I really didn't. I swear to God. I will swear to God, I did not know I couldn't defend myself.
Well, I don't think that is a question of defending yourself.
Well,
but, you know, you can't use sticks and stones, but you can't use
But I didn't even
force.
have sticks and stones.
Miss Schuler, you know exactly what I'm saying to you, madam. Don't be a passive-aggressive with me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Height says fellow restaurant patron Sylvia Schuler hit her in the face.
I mean, if you saw a man sitting there and scratching himself because he had an itch, would you have the gall to say to him, can't you do that someplace else? Can't you go into the bathroom? Why don't you go do that in the car? You wouldn't say that to him.
Well,
you wouldn't say that to him. What you would do is you would take your children, if you believed it was offensive, and you would go outside. You would say, I can't believe that guy can't be more discreet about scratching himself.
Well, when she raised her sweater, she exposed her breast, and that's what I had a problem with in a public place.
And I want to tell you something. I don't necessarily believe that that's true. I believe that that's a convenient thing for you to say now, and I don't believe that she cursed at you, Ms. Height. I do not believe that you said to her very sweetly, could you please do that, or don't you think you could do that someplace a little more discreetly? And she turned around and called you the names that you attribute to her a moment ago. I don't believe that that happened.
Can I let my husband testify?
Oh, you can, but I won't believe him either. I don't believe she said that to you.
She did.
No, I don't believe she said that to you. I believe that she kept going back and forth because it would make sense if she said, this is what I'm going to do, and then you came back to her and said to her, can't you just go to the restroom? Because if somebody came back and cursed at me like that, I would say if I were a normal person, gee, this person's a little bit off, I'm not going to have anything else to do with her. But you didn't do that. You came right back and you said to her, according to you, after she cursed at you in a vile way, you said to her, calmly, you could at least go into the restroom. That's not what I'm hearing from the manager of the restaurant that was your demeanor on that day.
He didn't.
Now, that doesn't mean, madam, that you have the right to put your hands on her. You don't. She has absolutely no right to tell you that you can't breastfeed a child, which is a perfectly natural thing. Some people prefer to do it privately. They feel as if for everybody's sake, including the child's sake. The child was 14 months old. Perhaps we could do this privately. I can go out into the car. I can go into a private corner. I don't have to be in the middle of a lobby with 50 people around me and breastfeeding my child. But that's your prerogative. You know, you say it's a natural occurrence. It is a natural occurrence, and you can do it. There are lots of things that are natural that you don't necessarily do, you know, in the middle of Times Square. However, You understand what I'm saying to you?
I do.
I'm not being judgmental. I'm not being at the risk of offending the La Leches. I did not breastfeed my children. They grew up just fine. My generation didn't do that. But all my children and their children have all been breastfed. And they whip it out just about any when they want. What?
I'm just trying to get over.
Well, you're just trying.
I'm just trying to get over. I'm not being judgmental.
Well, it's not your prerogative to tell her what to do. And I don't believe that you were hurt either. I believe she slapped you and your pride was hurt. But you can't hurt her. Now, I'm going to get to your counterclaim, because I think that your counterclaim is also a little bit of nonsense, but I'm prepared to hear it.
Okay.
It's for emotional distress.
Well, I have expenses. That's all I'm asking for.
What expenses?
I had a lot of consultation with an attorney because I was supposed to be arraigned on March 5th.
Yes.
I was arrested.
She made a citizen's arrest because you assaulted her.
Exactly. So I was very concerned. I was a nervous wreck. I've never had any legal problems in my life.
Should have kept your hands to yourself.
May I ask you a question? Because I'm very interested in the answer to this question.
Sure.
How close can someone get to you aggressively? How close can an aggressor get before you have the right to protect yourself?
Where was your husband when all this was going on?
Watching my 3-year-old, who is very active.
Is what you're telling me that you were fighting back and forth with this lady and things had gotten so aggressive that she was cursing you, she was screaming at you, your husband got involved, he got involved with your husband, and yet your husband left you to go watch your 3-year-old? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Yeah. You put your hands on her. She has the right to make a citizen's arrest. So if that's the expense that you want because you consulted with an attorney, I'm going to deny that application.
Okay.
And I think that she had no right to put her hands on you, and you have to be compensated for that. But you have to be compensated commensurate with the damage. If you had it to do all over again, would you have moved your seat?
Well, she had only sat down like 5 minutes before. And
would you have moved your seat instead of starting in with her?
No, I probably wouldn't have.
Well, then you got a problem. You're not supposed to look for confrontation. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to try to avoid confrontation if you can. You know, life is short. You're out having a good time, you're out having dinner, you're waiting for a table. There are 12 of you. According to you, 7 children and 4 adults. You're out to have a good time. Why would you want to start anything that's going to put a damper on that good time?
I didn't think that it would. I didn't think that just kindly asking someone to take that into another part of the restaurant or outside would have caused so much her to become so angry.
Well, just a second. But she responded to you, and she said it's none of your business. Right? Let's say I agree. Let's say that that's what she said to you. It's none of your business. Let's say she used all the expletives. Then why did you continue the conversation with her?
Well, I was sitting with my husband's 70-year-old aunt and uncle.
Your 70-year-old aunt and uncle didn't complain. You did. All right, I think you're entitled to be compensated. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10. That's all. Counterclaims dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ex-boyfriend, 26-year-old bartender Greg Leith for unpaid loans. Maureen says she started dating Greg when he was her high school swim coach, and she was just 17.
Guys, case number 123 on the calendar in the matter of Mance versus Leith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
How old are you, Miss Mance?
I'm 19.
How old were you when you met the defendant?
I was 17.
You were in high school?
Yes, I was a senior in high school.
And what was he?
He was the assistant swim coach on my high school swim team.
When did you start to date him romantically?
We started dating maybe 3 days after the season ended. That was in February of 2002.
You were 17?
Yes.
How old were you?
24 at the time.
Married or single?
Single.
Had been married?
No.
Any children?
No.
According to your complaint, he had some trouble making ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of your relationship, you loaned him money.
Yes.
Substantial amount of money.
Yes.
Mr. Leith says that, well, he did have some hard times there financially. The money that you gave him was just that gifts. You agreed to help him out. And because he's a good guy, he gave you back $2,400. And he says, according to him, let me quote his answer, he said, I didn't want to seem as if I was a charity case, so I paid her a total of $2,400 to make her feel better, and I can prove it. That's what you said here.
Yes.
A lie.
Prove. Shh. I'm going to cut to the chase right now.
Okay.
Miss Mance, you have a whole laundry list of money that you lent him over the years. Is that right?
Yes.
You say he gave you back $1,000, but he still owes you about $3,000.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you this. If he can prove to me what he says in his answer, that he paid you back $2,400, if he can prove to me, listen to my question, if he can prove to me that he paid you back $2,400, are you prepared to say, that's fine, that's...
No.
Oh, that's too bad. Prove to me that you paid her back $2,400.
I don't have any evidence of any kind.
Well, if you don't have any evidence, you see where I'm going?
See where you're going.
See where I'm going?
The only evidence that we have is a title of a car that was signed over from my name to her name, which is a car that I purchased for her.
For $200.
Shh.
I purchased the car for $400 from a friend. We signed $200 on the title because it made tax reasons easier. When I put $600 worth of work into it, which her father actually helped me do the work in a friend of his shop, and we had $600 in total parts, including seat covers, wheel covers, and things that I needed to get the engine running properly again, which the car was destroyed a week or so after she started driving it because something that wasn't fixed properly ended up blowing up inside and destroyed the motor. I also gave her $1,400 in cash in total payments, and that was...
Show me from the bank from which you drew out...
I paid everything in cash.
Listen to my mouth. Are you a bookie?
No.
You have a job?
Yes.
You have a checking account?
No.
You put money in a bank or under the mattress?
Under the mattress.
You put it under the mattress. You're slick, but I don't believe you. Do you understand?
Yes.
Nobody does that. You put money in a bank, especially $1,400. You would have some evidence that you withdrew $1,400 from a bank. Not necessarily a check. Not everybody has a checking account. But most people who are college educated have a checking account.
Your Honor, at one point he did have a checking account.
Just a second. Do I look like I need help from you yet?
No.
Who is this?
This is one of my friends. His name is Chip. He's a witness that 2 of the times I did pay her cash, they were $200 each time, so he's a witness to $400 of the money that was paid back.
Good. Perfect. I don't even have to hear him. She says that you paid her back $1,000. You could have had 2 more chips. $2,400, sir. Get there. So far, let us assume that I believe you, which I do not, that we have $400 from Chipper over here. And you have $600 in parts for a car.
Which my father paid for.
Just a second. $2,400, sir. Get there.
I already told you, ma'am. $1,000 in total for the car, and then $1,400 in cash payments made to her.
When?
During the course, it was probably over a course of a year, because she loaned me money when I first got diagnosed with a disease, Crohn's disease. I was out of work for a while, and then when I got back to work, I took a dive off the ladder and had a fractured spine at one point.
You're an accident looking to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you have family?
No. Well, family, yes. It's my father and my mother and everybody, but...
Well, father and mother usually comprise family. Right, Chip?
I agree, ma'am.
That's where you go if you have the propensity to fall off ladders. You go to your parents. You don't go to your 17-year-old girlfriend.
Well, she was 18 at that time.
Oh, my goodness. Eligible for Social Security, and you were 25. Father?
Yes, ma'am.
Happy with him?
Not really.
Oh, I could tell.
My ex-wife is even less happy, and I had to keep him out of jail. She wanted to put him there.
He was forbidden from entering my mother's house, where I was living at the time.
When you were how old?
17.
17, 18.
Is there any particular reason why he was forbidden from entering your house?
I wasn't forbidden from her father's house.
No. I understand that.
My mother was very upset because he was so much older than me, and she found out that I had been giving him money, which upset her even more. And
Where'd you get the money from?
I worked. I have a copy of my W-2 here. I worked full-time during the summertime, and I took a semester off school, and I worked.
She made very good money that year. Unfortunately, she doesn't have it.
Yes.
And I get very few phone calls, if I may interrupt, from my ex-wife. One of them was about this situation after she had heard about it, because it was in the closet for some time. And the words that came out of her mouth were statutory. And that's what she wanted to pursue. And I talked her out of that.
That's hard to do anyway.
Yes.
Because
and
at the
I
time,
didn't
what's
want...
your first name?
Maureen.
Maureen. At the time, Maureen was in love.
Yes.
Or
I didn't want to push them apart, her mother and herself. I figured that would end up in the wrong
Smart.
direction. Thank you.
Wouldn't have gone anywhere anyway.
No.
You need somebody to testify, right?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
The day that we went to Sausalito, Eric was rubbing my shoulders in front of the guy that we were buying product from.
I don't care, and neither does he.
As long as they're not my shoulders.
Well, I don't care about rubbing shoulders. Go someplace else if you want to talk about rubbing shoulders.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maureen Mance says ex-boyfriend Greg Leith owes for unpaid loans. Maureen says she started dating Greg when he was her high school swim coach, and she was just 17.
Okay, so far you have not convinced me that you gave her $2,400.
The title.
I see you
signed
there
over.
without any evidence.
The only evidence I would have had would have been the title of the car.
Except
which
Chipper
I
over
signed
here. And Chipper doesn't want to fall in my mouth again, do you, Chipper?
No, ma'am.
I will also say, Your Honor, that she did not loan me nearly the amount, and none of it was supposed to be a loan. She had told me during the course of this relationship that she was helping me out because we were together and because we were in a relationship.
I know.
And it was only
Just
after we
listen
broke
to-
up.
Listen to me, sir.
Yes.
A 17-year-old cannot make a contract with you.
None of the money was ever borrowed or any money that she ever spent was until after she had turned 18, so she would have been a legal adult at that time.
Which was only a few months later.
You got it? Do you just love that man? Listen to me. Maureen, really good lesson.
Hard.
Hard
Very
lesson.
hard.
Over the course of 2 years, you gave him a whole lot of money. Now, ordinarily, I would dismiss your lawsuit because you have no evidence of a loan. You loved him. But he says he paid you back. That's his problem.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't prove it because he has no evidence. So what he wants me to do is believe a 25-year-old, because at that time he was 25, because you've turned 18, eventually he turned 25,
Right.
that a 25-year-old man took money from an 18-year-old girl, and he wants me to believe that this 25-year-old man had no bank account, no checking account, kept his money under his mattress.
When he had it.
When he had it. So I find that hard to believe, Mr. Lee. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is your Crohn's disease under control?
Yes, it is.
Oh, how wonderful for you. And you're working full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you haven't fallen off any ladders lately?
No, ma'am.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,400, which is the amount you say you paid her back but can't prove. Maureen, be grateful.
I am. Thank you very much.
That's all.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Eyes are excused. You may step out.
In the beginning of our relationship, he wrote me letters telling him how much he loved me and how much he couldn't wait to spend his life with me.
We had both written letters to each other, and I wouldn't consider them to be romantic love letters.
I was young, I was naive, and it was a hard lesson.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mackey versus Dewey. Step forward.
Spa owner Lee Mackey is suing his former employee, 26-year-old esthetician Melanie Dewey, for the return of money he claims she stole. Melanie says she kept the money because Lee was withholding her pay.
Mr. Mackey, do you own a day spa? Is that what kind of establishment
Yes, ma'am.
that
I'm
you
actually a
have?
partner.
And according to what I read, the defendant did some work at your day spa as an esthetician. She gave facials. What else?
We didn't really get to that point yet, but I was going to be the head esthetician and I was getting ready to open the salon with them.
So you weren't working for them?
I was working for them, but not doing facials yet.
What were you doing?
I was helping them open the day spa, doing like the hiring and the training and ordering the supplies, bringing the supplies.
Okay. According to what I read, Miss Dewey came to you with some sort of a proposition, and that was that she had a friend from whom she could purchase a tanning bed at a very good price, $500. Is that right?
Not technically, ma'am. It's a spray tan machine, and the price was $550. So it was not
A
technically
spray
a tan.
tanning machine.
Yes, ma'am.
You gave her the $550?
Gave her $500 in cash, and then I helped put $150 down for her insurance.
I don't want to know about the insurance. You gave her $500 in cash for the machine?
$650 total, ma'am.
Mr. Mackey, I want you to listen to me, sir. I said you gave her $500 in cash for the machine.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you said, well, I didn't want the machine. You were going to sell it to somebody else. And when you told that to the defendant, she said, well, I'm going to keep the $500.
Yes, ma'am.
And you also claimed that you loaned her $150 for her car insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Miss Dewey says that, in fact, you did give her the $500, you did pay the $150, but you owed her money for some wages, and she's keeping everything. Right?
Correct.
When were you supposed to open the spa, Mr. Mackey?
Originally it was in June, but we were delayed for construction. We finally opened December 15th.
Of 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did Miss Dewey come to work for you?
I'd have to actually talk to our general manager, Eric. He's actually the one that dealt with hiring her.
When did Miss Dewey come to work for you?
She started helping the spa open, I would say, in early...
You're thinking really hard. The questions get harder here,
September.
sir. What?
September.
September what?
I don't know the exact date.
When in September?
It was the last week of July, actually.
Is that a possibility, sir?
I have her paycheck here that says 11/13/03 for 16 hours that she put in, and $295 of products that she purchased that she was reimbursed for.
11/16/03 is the first paycheck she had?
Yes,
You said she came to work for you in September.
that is correct.
So what happened to September and October?
This is when she was reimbursed for her hours.
Let me see. Okay. So you say you came to work in July.
End of July, last week.
And what did you do for them in July?
They had me look online for products that they would like, talk to them on the phone, ordering supplies, going with them to Sausalito to order supplies.
Well, I want you to take out a list of the hours that you worked.
He was responsible for all those hours. I don't have any of the hours.
You mean you were being paid on an hourly basis and you didn't keep track of how many hours you worked?
He actually was supposed to give me a base salary, which I never had, and a compensation package that he never gave me. He never came through with anything that he said that he would.
Then why did you continue there?
That's why I quit, and that's why I kept the money. It was ridiculous.
Well, you can't do that.
Well, I felt that I could. Maybe
Well, you can't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lee Mackey says former employee Melanie Dewey owes for the return of money. Melanie claims it's Lee who owes her.
Okay. What's your first name?
Melanie.
Melanie! Listen to me, dear. If you go to work for somebody in July and you get your first paycheck in November, you're supposed to say,
Too trusting.
Something isn't right here. I worked in July, I worked in August, I worked in September, I worked in October. November 16th, I get a check for $583. Something isn't quite making sense here. Now, when did he give you the $500 for this tanning machine?
It was in September.
August 28th, ma'am. Also, just to talk a little bit about what Melanie is saying about working, we actually weren't even open. We were during construction.
I understand that.
So-
What Melanie is saying is she was helping you set up. And she had to have been there prior to when you say she was there in November, because she made this arrangement to get you a piece of equipment in August.
That's because we were friends.
Mr. Mackey, don't play with me. You may have promised her that she would have a role in the new day spa and that she would be the chief esthetician, but you needed some help in setting up the place, and she was on the phone, and she may have gone to look for some products for you. It's her responsibility to keep track of her own hours, to check against yours. She can't do that. She can't come here with a pretty smile and a great tan and then say to me, this is my evidence. I mean, that doesn't float. So August 28th, Miss Dewey, you got the $500. And when did you decide to keep it for yourself? What date?
Probably around the end of September, when I was still working for them and training all of their estheticians. And then I asked him for my compensation package, and he said that it was a great package, nowhere to be found, but they were going to turn on and sell the machine that I was giving them and make about $1,000 off of it. And at that point I realized I'm not going to get paid, they're making money, and I'm getting totally screwed.
That was in September?
Correct.
So in September you kept the money?
Correct.
Did you continue to go to work there?
No.
Well, then can you explain this check that was given to you on November 13th for $583 that you cashed?
I guess it was a later time. I don't remember the time frames.
Can I ask you this question, Miss Dewey?
Yes.
What did you do to prepare for your day in court? I mean, other than put on perfect makeup, what did you do?
I've been
Madam?
out of the country. I wasn't prepared.
You certainly are not prepared. What you're supposed to do when you come to court is the judge is going to ask you questions. Then you had to sit down and say, this is when I went to work for them. These are the hours that I put in. This is when I stopped working. This is when I decided to appropriate the $500 for myself because I wasn't getting paid. But if now you tell me that you appropriated the $500 in September, and then 2 months later they pay you $583, something doesn't quite fit. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right, so I can't help you, madam. Now, what about this $150 loan for insurance?
Well, actually, ma'am, the $50 was supposed to go towards the machine. The other was a loan because the insurance agent was around the corner from my house, and I do have the canceled check.
Can I see it,
where I
please?
wrote Melanie on the info line because it was not for me. And that was dated 11 November.
Okay. Now, Melanie, State Farm is where you insure your car. Is that correct?
That's where he insured my car, yes.
What do you mean he insured your car?
He was trying to pursue me. He was trying to date me. And that was one of his ways to get me to date him, was to get car insurance for me. So that was something that he did as a gift.
Just a second. Melanie, he was trying to date you. He was trying to pursue you. That adds a new layer to this rather interesting
Actually, both
case.
owners were, actually.
What?
Yeah. The day that we went to go get products in Sausalito, Eric was rubbing my shoulders in front of the guy that we were buying products from.
I don't care, and neither does he. You don't care about rubbing shoulders, do you?
As long as they're not my shoulders.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about rubbing shoulders. All I care about is State Farm insurance for $150. Go someplace else if you want to talk about rubbing shoulders. Now, you allowed him to pay for your insurance, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because he said it was a gift and he wanted to do that for me.
I don't believe you. Okay, listen, Melanie, where do you work now, darling?
I work at a day spa.
What do you do in the day spa?
I'm an esthetician.
How many days a week do you work?
4 days.
What do you do on the 5th day?
I take care of my son.
And on 4 days, working 4 days a week, you're able to support yourself and your child?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, wonderful. So I hope you have the $650 to return to Mr. Mackey. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think the whole thing was totally ridiculous. I wasn't prepared. If I was, I would have won.
Her husband, construction worker Michael Maddox, for having her falsely arrested for child abuse. Michael says Carrie spanked their 4-year-old son with a cutting board.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Colmenero versus Maddox. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Colmenero, you and the defendant used to be married.
Yes.
And you have children together. And it is your claim that your former husband made false claims that you had and continue to abuse the children that you have together. And as a result of one of those claims, you were arrested. You want to be compensated to the tune of $5,000. And Mr. Maddox says that you have a history of child abuse, excessive corporal punishment of the children. He believes that you are still using corporal punishment on the children. And he has every right, and not only the right, but the responsibility as their parent to notify protective services and or the police that his children are at risk. Right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. How long were you married?
5 years.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
Hayden is 7 and Trevor is 5.
You have other children?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
I have a 13-year-old.
Whose name is?
Is Cody, and a 9-year-old who is Jared.
Those children also live with you?
I do have my son, my 9-year-old lives with me.
Where is Cody?
Cody moved in with his father about 2-3 months ago.
Were any of those 2 children the subjects of child protective proceedings or complaints?
The accusations have been made for all 4 children.
By whom?
By Michael Maddox.
By anyone else?
By my husband. His ex-wife has also made claims.
Well, does your husband have children?
Yes, he does.
How many children does he have?
He has 3 children.
Were there allegations of corporal punishment made by his former wife with regard to his 3 children?
Yes, there has been.
And what were the nature of the complaints that were made by his former wife?
Molestation, different things of that nature.
I'm talking about excessive corporal punishment or corporal punishment. You know what that means?
Okay.
Corporal punishment?
No,
that means hitting excessively or using an instrument to hit.
For Cody, Jared, Hayden, and Trevor, there has been accusations made on all of the children.
To excessive corporal punishment?
Yes.
By Mr. Maddox?
Yes.
And by your husband's former wife?
Yes.
Okay, now we're getting there. When was the allegation made with regard to Trevor and Hayden that caused you to become arrested? Tell me about that incident.
That happened on February 12th.
Okay.
And the children had went to go visit their father that weekend, and later on that night, I had been arrested for abusing my son, my 4-year-old. At the time, he was 4.
Okay, Mr. Maddox, the children were with you for a scheduled weekend visitation?
Yes, they was.
And tell me what happened.
What happened was she used to drop the children off at my sister's house. So when she dropped them off, I came over and I proceeded to pick my children up. I took my sons to my house and I started to change their clothes. I noticed the bruises. Right then I called.
Noticed the bruises where?
On the buttocks. There was 3 places on the buttocks that they had bruises. This has happened.
What did the bruises look like?
They were small bruises, about a 1/4 inch wide, probably maybe 1 inch or so long, around their butt. So
on both children?
Just one.
Which child?
The youngest one, Trevor.
Did you ask Trevor and or Hayden how that happened?
Yes, I did. They told me their mom spanked them with a paddle.
So who did you call?
I called the police department.
You indicate, Mr. Maddox, that your judgment of divorce, you indicate in your answer, that your judgment of divorce has an unusual paragraph in it with regard to corporal punishment. Do you have that with you?
I sure do.
I'd like to see it, please.
This wasn't the first time that this has happened.
No, let me see it, and then I'll ask you questions. Okay? Well, there is a paragraph in your judgment of divorce that provides that neither party shall allow the use of corporal punishment upon the children. Was that a negotiated term of the separation agreement?
Well, what happened is I had to remodify it because it started happening before this case, and so I had it put in.
Had there been a history of that before, Mr. Maddox?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
What kind of a history, sir?
One time, right when she started dating Rick, she was living in a different county, and I picked him up, and he had bruises up and down his rear end.
Who?
Trevor had bruises that she was living with him at the time. And so I took him to the county that I was in, the police department. They took pictures. Well, they proceeded to try to find her, but she had came back into Stanislaus County, a different county, and they couldn't go over into that county. So I proceeded to have that, the CPS from the Merced County was checking it out, and so when she moved back into Stanislaus, the case kind of got dropped.
After you called the police, what happened on the 12th of February of 2003?
The officer took the report. He called another officer out, a female officer that takes the pictures, and she proceeded to take pictures. Then he told me that...
Don't tell me what he told you.
Oh.
Just tell me, did either of the officers that respond speak to either Trevor or Hayden?
They did. They spoke to both the children.
And subsequent to that, they came to your home and arrested you?
That's correct.
Is that right?
That is correct.
When they arrested you, did they take anything from the house?
Yes, they did.
What did they take?
They asked me if I had a paddle, and I said I had a cutting board, which was confiscated. That is what I brought here today. It's my cutting board. You can see that I do use it as a cutting board.
Okay.
It hung in my kitchen. It's in my kitchen today. I did get it back because all allegations were dropped.
When?
That was dropped on March 27th. I have that court.
I'd like to see the court papers, please.
And the DA's information is on the back, which was also
I'd like to
dropped.
read it.
It's on the back there.
Is this the only write-up? Does anybody have a police report, please?
I have a police report.
I'd like to see the police report. All this says is that the case was dismissed on the DA's motion for insufficient evidence.
Your Honor, I asked...
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This has been dropped. This was stated after the fact.
What after the fact? What are you talking about? You have to be told not to hit children with instruments?
And later today...
He didn't pay.
No.
And he did go to the wedding?
Yes. He walked her down the aisle, did everything the father does, except for pay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Colmanero says her ex-husband, Michael Maddox, had her falsely arrested for child abuse. Michael says Carrie spanked their 4-year-old son so hard, it left marks.
Is it true that you hit your children with a wooden paddle?
No, it is not true.
Then you're telling me that the police officer who filed this report is a liar. Is that what you're telling me? Did you know the police officer who responded to the scene on the 12th to arrest you? Had you ever seen him before?
I never previously seen him.
So there would be no reason for him to hold or harbor a grudge against you in any way. Is that right?
No.
Is that right? Is that right?
That is correct.
And there would be no reason for you to believe that he would hold or harbor a grudge against your husband in any way?
No.
Is that correct? So you believe that when he filed a police report, he filed a police report that accurately reflected both what he observed and what was said by both you and your husband. That would be a fair statement, would it not?
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to read to you from the police report.
Okay.
Okay? Let's start out with something simple. He responded on the 12th of February, 2003, to the defendant's home. I will paraphrase that part of his report because it is not really germane to what I'm going to tell you. When he got to the defendant's home as a result of the defendant's telephone call, he examined your sons, and he found bruises and marks on Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
He then asked both boys, little boys, how that happened, and both boys said to the police officer that Mommy spanked me, and that's all they would say. They said nothing else. There were no marks viewed on Hayden, only on Trevor. But based upon those marks and the statement, they came to your residence. Now, fast forward. Police officer, I asked Carrie, that's your name, isn't it?
Yes.
If she had spanked either of her boys earlier that day. She advised that she had, with a wooden paddle, which was still located in the kitchen. At that point, I placed Carrie into custody for violating Penal Code Section 273, cruelty to a child. I then escorted Carrie out of the residence and secured her in the rear of the vehicle. As I was furthering my investigation, Deputy Jeff and stayed with Carrie as I went back into the residence to interview Colmenero. That's you. I asked if he knew the whereabouts of the wooden paddle. He advised that it was in the kitchen. I followed Colmenero into the kitchen and watched as he retrieved an approximately 12-inch by 13-inch brown wooden paddle from the counter. I asked Colmenero what the paddle was used for. He advised that Carrie uses it to discipline both boys when they get out of line. At approximately 3:30, both boys, he said, were getting out of control and tearing up the house. So he's very specific. He watched as Carrie yelled at both boys and grabbed the wooden paddle and then proceeded to spank the victim approximately 2 times and Hayden 2 times for disobeying her. At that point, he didn't see any other physical injuries on either of the children. He also advised, that's him, that the last time Carrie had spanked the boys was 2 days before, on the 10th, at 7 p.m. for the same circumstances. Then the police officer interviewed your 2 older sons, who confirmed all of that. Both boys, your 2 older sons, say that that's your modus operandi. When they get out of line, you take a wooden paddle and you hit them. So my question to you is, first, stand up here. What are you complaining about? What's your lawsuit about?
My lawsuit is due to being arrested, and this has been dropped.
So, it can be dropped. You did it.
There was nothing stated in our court custody that this was stated after the fact.
What after the fact? What are you talking about? What's after the fact? That you should not hit children with instruments? Is that what you're telling me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Colmenero says her ex-husband, Michael Maddox, had her falsely arrested for child abuse. Michael says Carrie spanked their 4-year-old son so hard, it left marks.
You have to be told not to hit children with instruments?
I am saying that this incident is not... I have the DA's information here, and they have overlooked the children. If you would take a look at this also.
Listen to me, madam. Your husband said that you hit the children with a paddle, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say that that's her standard operating procedure for dealing with the children, correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And that the children had marks as a result of that, at least one of the children, correct?
Correct.
You weren't falsely arrested. The case was ironically, erroneously, stupidly dismissed. For what reason, I don't know. Maybe he had a DA who's got his head up his behind. We do not hit children with instruments. You got it? Goodbye. The case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think the judge knew what she was talking about. And, I was just hoping that the district attorney in my area would go ahead and pick it up.
I am not a cruel mother, nor have I ever been, and Michael Maddox is very aware of that.
I just think that they can see right through it with all my documentation that, you know, she was just after money from me.
I only pray that he stops doing this, lets my husband and I go on and live our lives and parent our children.
They just, you know, quit doing that to my kids. We won't have a problem.
Obviously, if we were mean, they'd be dead by now, or at least, you know, out of our hands. And that's not the truth.
I would like to get custody of the kids, you know, so they live with me and in a stable home.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lewis versus Robbins. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Debbie Lewis is suing her ex-husband, assembly line worker James Robbins, for half the cost of their daughter's wedding. Debbie says he reneged on his promise to pay.
Ms. Lewis, the defendant is your former husband, and according to the complaint that I read, he agreed to pay for half of your daughter's wedding. Which one of these two lovelies is getting married? What's your name?
Angie.
How old are you, Angie?
23.
When are you getting married?
I already got married. I got married in September.
And he agreed to pay for half the wedding, and it was a very reasonably priced wedding. Half the cost of the wedding was $865. And he didn't pay.
No.
And you wanted to pay.
Yes.
And he did go to the wedding.
Yes. He walked her down the aisle, did everything the father does.
Okay.
Except for pay.
Okay. Now, Mr. Robbins does not deny the fact that he agreed to pay for half the wedding. Correct, sir?
Correct.
And he does not deny the fact that he went to the wedding. Correct?
Correct.
And who else went with you to the wedding?
My wife, Robin.
So, Mr. Robbins, the ball is in your court, sir. Why didn't you pay for half your daughter's wedding as you promised?
Well, because ever since I've left her in '90, she's been putting her hands in my pockets trying to get money out of me for everything. And the divorce decree that we have does say that she gets to use the kids for taxes reasons. But the state of Utah took custody from her because of verbal and physical abuse. And I got a paper here that says that the divorce decree follows the child. And it cost me $1,600 because she did claim my daughter on taxes where I have the right to. And I also have a letter from her that's showing that the custodial parent gets to claim them on taxes. And if that's the case, I didn't get to claim them for 13 years that we've been divorced.
If you believe that in a certain year, I assume last year, that you had the right to claim a child as a deduction, she claims the child. You claim the child, and the IRS is going to come and look at both of your tax returns and say they will make a decision as to who is going to claim the child as a deduction. The other one will have a penalty. But you don't do a set-off. You promise to pay for half the wedding. Why didn't you pay her between September and April?
I told her that I would pay her when I could, which would...
No, that's not right. What do you mean when you could? How many children do you have?
Well, I have 4 with my wife now.
We have 3 children.
Just a second. You have 4 children now. And how many children do you have that got married last year?
Just 1.
And you said you would pay for half the wedding.
Yes, I did.
Pay for it. It's the right thing to do. And stop making excuses and stop telling me what happened in 1990. That she's had her hand in your pocket. You
Well, it just all added up. I mean, everything's added up to the...
Mr. Robbins, you have altogether 7 children?
Well, I got 4 stepchildren, 3.
Then I'm not talking about your stepchildren. They are not your responsibility.
Well, I married them, so I feel they are.
Well, I'm telling you, by law, they are not your responsibility unless your family is on welfare, are they?
No.
Well, if your family's not on welfare, then those children are not your financial responsibility. They are the financial responsibility of their mother and their father, not you. you have primary responsibility for only 3 biological children. 3. And your first biological child was getting married. She was having a very small wedding. $865 represents your half. And if you didn't have the money to pay the $865, you should have gotten another job. If I make myself clear, sir?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $865. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. They stepped out.
I'm just glad that the judge knew that both parents should pay for the wedding.
I feel bad that I didn't pay it, but I get so sick and tired of her being...
Jennifer are suing their former friends, Chris Petrie and girlfriend Brandy Carpenter, for causing them to be evicted and for vandalizing their car. Chris and Brandy are countersuing, claiming Joshua punched Brandy in her pregnant stomach.
All rise.
This is case number 156 on the calendar in the matter of Niemeyer versus Petrie Carpenter. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Niemeyer, these folks were friends of yours.
Were.
And then, sometime several months ago, according to your complaint, you had a falling out over $100.
Yeah.
And you claim as a result of this falling out that the defendants damaged your car, assaulted you, you want damages. The defendants say that you became an aggressor over this $100, and you, in fact, assaulted them, and they are counterclaiming. So first, why don't you tell me what happened on this day? When was it, in April?
I went to a customer's house. I was running a side business.
What kind of business?
Computer work, building computers, setting up networks. I was having a problem with a satellite, so I called Chris out. He went to our apartment and took my wife's car from there, left his wife there.
Okay, these are details that I really don't think I need, because I've read your complaint, and your complaint says that you gave him $100 for his day's work in helping you.
Yes.
And he gave you the $100?
Yeah, he gave me the $100.
Go ahead.
His wife was asleep when we got back. She was pregnant, so I went to sleep on the couch.
Mr. Niemeyer, listen to me carefully, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Because I have other things to do tonight.
I understand. Sorry.
You gave him the $100. According to you, they slept at your house.
Yes.
And the next morning, the $100 was missing. Is that right?
Right, my stuff had been rummaged through.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Shh. The $100 was missing. And they believed that either you or your wife took the $100.
Which we didn't.
So pick up from that point.
Okay. Basically, he woke up and somehow his stuff was scattered out through my house. It's like he had been through my house and looking for stuff to steal or something. I don't understand it. I don't understand how stuff gets his stuff that was in his pockets when I went to bed is scattered out throughout my house, and he's looking in my car and everything.
I want to know how it
My
gets scattered
MP3 player
around.
was missing.
Listen to me.
My laptop was missing.
Listen to me. None of those things, Mr. Niemeyer, are contained. Listen to me.
I'm listening.
Are contained in your complaint that your things were missing. So I don't want to hear it. He woke up, his $100 is missing. Okay. He asks you about it. Your wife says, I'll look for it. They leave. Sometime later that day, they either came or called. Which was it?
Well, early when they were leaving, we got in big arguments. She was saying, I'm going to kick your butt.
Oh, you mean there was a dispute before they left in the morning?
Before they even left. They were accusing me of stealing. You know, it's like I just paid him $100. And
yeah, why would you take it back if you just paid him? That's ridiculous.
Yes. I don't understand it. So he called back later and he said, hey, y'all, he had Brandy call back later and talk to Jennifer. She said
Just
no.
a second.
Okay.
His wife called back and spoke to you?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say to you and what did you say to her?
She told me that I needed to have my husband give her man back the $100.
And what did you say to her?
I told her that I would talk to him, but it was between them. I knew that my husband hadn't taken the money. We looked all over the house. Chris had lost it.
Did they come back to the house?
Yes, they did.
What time?
10:30
10:30
p.m.
Had they called first to tell you that they were coming?
Basically, at that point, Chris had called me back and said, what's your gate code?
Gate code?
Yeah, it's getting our apartments. I said, Chris, you just need to turn around and leave. You know, I don't want to get kicked out of my apartment. Then, at that moment, I knew, knowing Chris for so long, I needed to go out there and look. Well, I went out there and looked. He had driven around in the exit gate when somebody had left.
So he was in your apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am. So at that point, I ran back upstairs. I called Craig and said, look, dude, I don't know what's going on.
Why did you call Craig?
Huh? Well, I didn't know what to do. You know,
Who's Craig?
Huh? This, my lady.
Well, I know. I see Craig sitting over there. I mean, what is he?
He's just a neighbor, basically.
He lives in the same complex?
Yes. I just wanted somebody to be able to see what was going on.
You didn't call the police?
At that moment, we thought we could talk things out and that things wouldn't escalate to that point. I went outside and tried to talk to them.
What did you say to them?
Brandy was really polite to me. I told her that if they were coming to start stuff, they couldn't do it there. We have 2 children. We have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old that don't need to be around that. And they didn't leave when I asked them to leave.
And?
At that moment, I went down there to talk to Chris. By the time I got out there and I noticed that it was just a screaming and holler match, I started to come back. Well, at that point, Chris started pushing me. Give me my money, or I'm going to punch your face in.
Never pushed you.
It's not a police report, Christopher.
He pushed me all the way back up to my
Let me ask you this
apartment.
question.
Excuse me, Judge.
Shh. Chris, you weren't the only 4 people in the house.
They're 2 kids.
They're 2 kids.
Right. There were 2 toddlers, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, would you give me a reason why this friend of yours, who you've known since you were children, who called you to come for a day's work, who took out the money to pay you, would then, while you were sleeping, rummage through your things and steal the $100 that he had just given you? It doesn't make sense. Now, is it possible that one of the 2 toddlers was going around the house and while you were all sleeping and rummaging through your stuff and his stuff and sort of scattered everything all over the place? Is that possible?
It's possible.
And then the money would have been gone. Is that possible?
She would have found it when she was cleaning.
Not necessarily. What if the toddler took your $100 and flushed it down the toilet? Would she have found it?
No.
Now, tell me in your own words, what happened when they came back at 10:30 at night?
Well, he started pushing me, and so I walked upstairs. I was trying to go back in the house. I was going to get Jennifer to call the police. At that moment, I turned around, and he's still right there, and he's trying to get in my house. So I pushed him back out of my front doorstep, because I wasn't going to let him in my house. At that moment, Brandy came walking upstairs.
You pushed by me and hit me in the stomach
anyway,
when I was pregnant.
when I pushed...
Don't speak.
When I pushed Chris back, pushed him like that to get him out of my doorstep, at that moment, Chris said, "You hit me." Turned around and swung. He hit me across the side of my head. Brandy came over the top of him, and their 3rd little guy, whoever he was, I don't know who he was, came running upstairs, and they all 3 commenced to hit me on my balcony. At that moment, I slid out, and Jennifer comes running out.
I heard noises. I came outside. All 3 of them were on top of him. My first thought was get Brandy off. She's 7 months pregnant, and I even told her, I said, look, you want to beat him up? Beat him up. Wait till you're done being pregnant. I said, that's between y'all, but not
After
when
he
you're
hit
pregnant.
me in the stomach, I was defending myself.
Sure, she
Listen
was
to
on top of
me.
him.
Listen to me. Big mouth. Big stupid mouth. When you're 7 months pregnant, you don't go back to a house where there has been an altercation in the morning when you know it's very possible that there's going to be another altercation. You stay home. You get it? And if you put yourself in the middle of a fight and then say, oh, don't touch me, I'm 7 months pregnant. If you're 7 months pregnant, you use your brains if you can find them and stay home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Chris brings his fist up and punches Josh.
He had hit her in the stomach, and she's pregnant.
Got in my face, and I pushed his face back out of mine.
You and your wife were having a very bad day, period.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joshua and Jennifer Niemeyer claim former friends Chris Petrie and girlfriend Brandy Carpenter caused them to be evicted and broke the rear window of their car. The Niemeyers claim the incident started over a missing $100.
Come on, let's go.
At the point when I pulled Brandy off, the other guy had gotten off too, and it was just Chris and Josh, and they ran down the stairs fighting. And Josh yelled at me, just go grab $100, give him $100, make him leave. So I went, got the $100, went to hand it to Chris. Chris said, he's going to hand it to me. So I handed the money to Josh. Josh hands the money to Chris.
So he said, he's going to hand it to me. Another idiot. Yeah, go ahead.
So Josh hands the money to Chris. As he's handing the money to Chris, I'm standing there, and Chris brings his fist up and punches Josh, and then says, don't hit me. Josh at never one point hit him. He was handing him $100.
Then what happened?
I lost it. I threw the money at him in his face and started, I was like, Jennifer, I got to get out of here. You know, I'm on probation. I'm not trying, I've straightened my life out.
Possession of a controlled substance.
Yes, I'm on probation. I've straightened my life out. You know, I just need to get out of here.
So he left.
So you went to leave. Now, when he went to leave in his car, you chased him, according to your answer. Now he's leaving.
To get the license plate number So she was running down to call the police because he had hit her in the stomach and she's pregnant. I never touched him.
What? Let me ask you this question.
He just came out swinging and hit her in the stomach.
Listen to me. Why were you there at 10:30 at night?
To talk to him about the money.
No, you went to his house to confront him about the money. And you had already had an altercation with him in the morning. And if you were going to go over there to have a confrontation with him, why did you go over there angry, which you were, and
I wasn't angry when I went.
Oh, yes, you were, sir. That's why you went there. And who did you bring with you?
I brought her with me.
Who else?
And my witness.
You brought a friend with you. Why did you bring the friend with you?
Because I was taking him home because we were out together.
Out where?
Ma'am,
Out where?
Out at her brother's house.
Doing what?
Seeing my nephew?
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe anything that you tell me. I think you're a troublemaker. And not a very smart troublemaker, because for somebody who's going to have a baby, you have to be a little more protective of an innocent than placing yourself in a situation that you know is potentially trouble. You understand each other?
Yes.
Good. You did, sir, a very foolish thing. Not only did you go back for a little more trouble and bring a friend with you.
He just happened to be in the car with us.
He got out of the car, didn't he?
When we first pulled up and I went to talk to Josh, he stayed in the vehicle.
Chris, is there a gate at their complex?
Yes.
Was the gate open when you got there?
The gate is usually open.
The gate no, I didn't ask you if it's... Listen, you follow me.
Okay.
I didn't ask you whether the gate is usually open. I said, was the gate open on the evening of the 25th of April when you got there?
Yes.
Obviously not.
No. You're fibbing to me.
Do you have
You're
phone
fibbing.
records?
Just a second. You're fibbing to me.
Okay. The gate was open.
The front gate was not open.
You can believe what you want. I mean...
Okay, so after you ran out to your car and Chris followed you out to your car, I want you to describe what happened.
I know the way Chris is and what he...
Don't tell me what you know.
Okay.
Just
Anyway,
tell me what happened.
I turned around and looked, and I saw Brandy and the other guy. They were going back to their car. I didn't see Chris at that moment, and so I had put the car in reverse, had just let off the brake, and all of a sudden I hear, thunk, hit and run. I turned around and flipped him off.
He jumped on his windshield and then yelled, hit and run, got
Did the police report that he hit him?
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Anyway, at that moment, I'm so fed up with all this crap that's going on. I didn't let him in the apartments. I told him to go away. I just, turned around, flipped him off, and said, Chris, whatever. I know your games. And at that moment, Chris is standing in front of my car. I let off the brake, not with the gas on, but where the car just slowly rolls to push him out of the way. Because, I mean,
Did you
all they were
leave?
there.
Sir, listen to me carefully. Did you ultimately leave?
After he had jumped through my windshield, yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joshua and Jennifer Niemeyer say former friends Chris Petrie and Brandy Carpenter owe for causing them to be evicted and for vandalizing their vehicle.
Would you step up, sir, please? Step up.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
My name's Craig Majors.
Mr. Majors, take your hands out of your pockets.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you a witness to any of this?
What I saw is very little, actually. I mean, whenever I was coming back from getting laundry, all I heard was a thump and some screaming.
So you didn't see anything?
Oh, yeah, I saw. Yes,
well, then
I did.
I want you to tell me what you saw, sir.
Okay, what I saw was him backing away from his car and some yelling going on.
And?
Well, Josh tried to proceed forward, and whenever he did so, it kind of looks like he did just a back dive or a back buster on his window. And I didn't see if it broke the window or anything, but I did hear the loud, crash. Not actually broken glass, but maybe the hood.
Okay, good. And that's
all
what
I could see is him run and jump on the front of his car, and
That's
that was
what you
it.
saw.
He did not get hit like somebody getting hit at 50 miles an hour.
Good. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Now, you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
We actually have 3. They were really
Can I see
busy
them,
that
please?
weekend, and these are all 3 from the same weekend, different occurrences.
One of those is right before us.
Who's Tony? Who's Tony?
I believe that was...
That was right before our house.
That was at a gas station. She assaulted him.
She assaulted another guy.
Do you know who Tony Gonzalez is, madam?
Yes.
So how come you didn't answer me?
Well, I didn't know the guy's name.
Well, now I'm telling you, you were arrested with regard to an incident.
I was never arrested.
On 425, well, this says arrested person, information number 1. Date arrested, 425-04. Person arrested, Brandy, that's you?
Yes, but I was
Okay.
never arrested.
And the complainant was one Tony Gonzalez. Now tell me about that. That's on the same date as this incident.
Right. We were at a gas station, and he almost hit my car, and whenever he was pulling in the other side, I was parked this way, he was pulling in on the other side of the pump. And I looked at him like, you know, don't hit my car, and he made comments of me being a white and da-da-da-da, whatever, and we exchanged words. Well, I got out of the car, and he got in my face, and I pushed his face back out of mine.
What part are you forgetting?
Shh, I don't want to hear you when I'm not speaking to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the cops came.
This is the same date as this incident, is that right?
Yes.
April 25th.
Yes. It was way later.
Oh.
That happened
So
in the afternoon.
That happened in the
after
afternoon.
the police were involved with this other assault with regard to Tony Gonzalez, who you put your hands on.
Yes.
While you were 7 months pregnant. Then you and your husband went back to their house.
Not directly after, but yes, later on that evening.
Later on that evening.
Yes.
Oh, you must have had a really good day on April 25th.
There's also one from
Shh, I didn't ask you a question. Okay. The gas station attendant in this incident, Brandy, says, and she doesn't know you, and she doesn't know the victim. This independent witness says that she observed you being the instigator in the incident and stated that she saw you cursing and slapping Mr. Gonzalez.
I never slapped. I pushed him back, his face out of mine, yes.
You told the police that you pushed him in the face.
Yes.
That's not a slap. You pushed him in the face. Interesting girl. You're an interesting girl. All right. And then I have this, and the only one I'm interested in is the independent witness who lives in the complex who says that you ran out after the car and you were screaming at him, "Give me my blank money or I'll smash you in the face." That's just from somebody who didn't even want to be involved.
If you read the paragraph above it, please read the paragraph above it, where it's a witness that has no relation to anybody who said that she was walking to her car in the parking lot when she saw suspect 1 hit complainant.
Oh, I believe that he hit you.
Confiscated vehicle.
I believe that he hit you.
Yes.
I believe that he hit you. I believe it's your fault. When you look for trouble, you're going to find it.
I wasn't looking for trouble.
Oh,
I went
going over there at
talk.
10:30 at night to a home where there are 2 toddler children is looking for trouble. Earlier that day, you had been in another altercation with them. So you and your wife were having a very bad day, period. Period. And if there was an altercation at his front door and he was trying to leave, which he was, to get away from the police, to get away from you, but he was trying to get away because you say he ran to his car and I followed him. And you told me that you went there just for the purpose of getting his license plate. That's what you swore to about 15 minutes ago. But that's not true because you've known him for a very long time. He's not going to disappear. He's got a wife and 2 children. So your counterclaim is dismissed. If you got injured that day in his car, too bad. And if she got a bellyache in the car because she was there, because he hit her, that's her problem. She and her 7-month fetus should have been home in bed at 10:30 at night. Now, let's get to you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Your car was damaged?
Yes.
How much?
We have the receipt right here for...
$180 for the windshield, and then it was $462 to get out of impound.
Okay. I believe that they're responsible for that. I believe that but for the fact that they came to your house at 10:30 at night looking for trouble, this whole unfortunate incident wouldn't have happened. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $642. That's all.
I didn't go over there looking for trouble.
He did a little bit more than stab me back. He ripped my...
And her son, 17-year-old Corey Rossell, are suing construction worker Russell Wynn for the cost to fix Corey's Ford Taurus. Corey claims Russell was chasing him and ran him off the road.
This is case number 212 on the calendar in the matter of Rossell Chronister versus Wynn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Chronister, this is your son?
Yes.
He's 17 years old?
Yes.
Have you ever had any trouble with him driving a car?
That was the first incident. He had only had his license for a month when this incident occurred.
Okay. What's your first name?
Corey.
So let's talk about this, Corey. Okay. According to your complaint, Mr. Wynn is a real nut. And he chased you in his car for no reason and caused you to have an accident. And after you had the accident and he caught up with you, he slammed his car into yours, causing damage to your car. So you had damage from the accident, and you had damage from his car hitting yours.
Yeah.
And in addition, you say that he slammed the trunk of your car on your arm.
Yes, ma'am.
When you went to get a baseball bat out of the trunk of your car, and that caused you injury. All told, you want Mr. Wynn to compensate you in the amount of $2,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wynn says that he was being a good Samaritan.
Yes, ma'am.
That he saw you involved in a hit-and-run accident. You took off after you hit something, and he was following you until he could get the police to apprehend you. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Wynn. On what day were you being this good Samaritan?
June 30th, I believe it was.
April 30th.
April 30th. I'm sorry, excuse me.
And where were you going to, and where were you coming from?
I was coming home from work.
And what time of the day was it that you were coming home from work?
Approximately 3:45, 10 to 4.
What kind of car were you driving?
I drive a 95 Dodge van. It's my work van, so I carry all my equipment and tools in it. It's a full-size van.
And what car were you driving, Corey?
95 Ford Taurus.
Whose car is that?
That was my car. It was in her name, but I was driving it.
Who was with you?
3 of my friends were with me.
Did you ever have an agreement with your mother not to drive other people around in your car?
No, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Wynn. So you're driving down the road, and what do you see that draws your attention?
I was heading south on Blanding. He was coming north on Blanding. There was a white car. It was a good ways ahead of me, probably 100, 150 yards ahead of me.
Ahead of you?
Ahead of me.
So you're going in the opposite direction?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He made the turn to go down Alligator, which is my road that I go down also. I seen him hit the back end of the white car. It wasn't real hard, but he did hit it and just took off. I mean, he just nailed it and went. The lady who was driving the other car, which I didn't stop, had pulled over, was getting out of the car as I rounded the corner, and I just stepped on it trying to catch up with the car, see if I could at least get the tag number. That's all my intention was, is to get the tag number. Well, being he's in a smaller car and I'm in a big van with a lot of tools and equipment, I couldn't keep up with that van, with the car. My car is not a smaller car. It's not like a little bitty car. It's a big car. I could fit like probably 6 or 7 people in my car.
I'm not asking you that, Corey, dear.
Sorry.
Just trying to say you weren't there.
I know.
You weren't there. Does Mr. Wynn look like a nut to you?
No.
He does not. He doesn't look like a nut.
But I believe his behaviors throughout the thing were...
Just a second. He doesn't look like a nut.
No.
So if your son told you that he didn't hit this car, his son is lying to you.
My son never said he did not. He admitted to hitting the car, even to the police.
Good. So you hit this car.
Just now I bumped the car.
After you hit the car, what did you do?
On the Alligator, the road that he was turning on, we stopped. The other car was going the other way, like we were in the median and we were coming across. We stopped and looked over, and then her car just kept going. So we just kept going. And then with this car, the van, we seen a van behind us. I started taking the turns to go to my house. They were like, "This van's following you." I said, "The van's following me?" They said, "Yeah, speed up." So
Did you, just a second, did you get out of your car to look and see if there was any damage on your car?
No, ma'am.
Why not? When you hit somebody, when you hit somebody and you're moving, that's what you do.
Yes, ma'am. It was a very slight bump, so I knew there was nothing wrong with the car.
Got it?
Yes.
Now, I can understand a woman in a car with 4 men in another car who's bumped, maybe not feeling comfortable about pulling to a complete stop, if that's what she says is happening. But that doesn't mean his first reaction isn't to get a plate number and then report it to the police. Right?
I had no disagreement with that. Right.
Fine. So he started following you. And then what happened?
So they were like, "He's following you." So I took down a couple roads. I was still driving, just regular driving. And he kept following.
Now, you saw him immediately after you hit the white car.
No, man, I took a turn, and then they.
Why did you take a turn?
I never saw him. My friend said.
Why did you take a turn?
Because I was turning to go to my house. I just kept going. I didn't think nothing of it.
What street did you turn down?
It's just like a little dirt road that comes onto a Alligator.
Do you know what street he's talking about?
No, ma'am. I had it written down, but I didn't. I apologize. I didn't bring it. But he turned down that one. He turned down several of them. As far as regular driving, he was fishtailing.
You hit the white car, and how much later did you take a turn?
Probably 5 minutes. I mean, I had to go down Alligator a little ways.
3 blocks.
3 blocks. Now, he's following you. You're 4 guys in a car. He's 1 guy in a van.
Well, we didn't know who. Like, I couldn't see inside his van. We didn't know anything about the van. We just knew that he kept saying he was following you. He's following you. So I said, okay, well, let's find out if he's following me. So I started turning down roads that I wasn't on my way to go home. And I just started down and turned him, and he's still there. I started looking in my rearview mirror. He's still there.
Why didn't you go down the road and go home and call the police?
Because my house was an hour away from there. I live a long way away from town.
Well, what about your friends? How close do they live?
They, I would have had...
Corey.
Yes,
Corey.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As a very, very dear friend of mine says, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You have your opinion, I have my opinion. Ultimately, it's only my opinion that counts.
And later today...
So you went from her to her, back to her, is that right? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes,
you must have some secret something, George, and if you do, it's got to be a good secret, because I don't see it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Corey Rossell says fellow motorist Russell Wynn ran him off the road during a chase. Russell says Corey was fleeing the scene of a traffic accident.
Now, did you ever think that the woman that you hit in the white car was thinking the same thing about you and your 4 friends in your car?
No, ma'am, because we had stopped and we saw her drive off, so we just thought it was just...
She didn't drive off.
No, ma'am, he didn't even slow down.
She didn't drive off. That's what you told your mother.
If he'd have stopped, ma'am, I'd have went on my way, thought nothing of it.
If she would have stopped, how would he have known that she stopped if he was following us from the minute that he saw it?
Because he says he saw you hit her and take off. That's how.
That didn't happen. We stopped. I swear we stopped.
That's what you do when you hit another car, even if it's a little bump. You get out, you look at your car, you look at their car, you say, is everything all right? Are you all right? And then you leave. Unless you're scared that you've had your driver's license for a month, you got 4 friends in the car, and maybe if you just take off, this whole nasty thing's just going to go away. It's just common sense, Corey. That's what makes the world go round, common sense. That's why he was chasing. He's not a nut. He sees 4 kids in a car, hit another car, and take off. And that's why he was following you.
There was other incidents that made me feel different after the fact that we got onto the main road, and he was still right behind me. Well, it's just rained, so it was pretty slick outside, and I started going through all these roads. I finally got to the end of the road, so I turned onto a main road, and he was still right behind me. He's still there. He got right up beside my car. This is why I didn't think he was actually following me, because he ran my car off of the road. And he ran my car off the road to where he almost ran right into my driver's side door. And then he got out, and all I could hear was him cussing and cussing and cussing. And so I just took off. I was like, I'm not going to sit here for this. And I took off, and then I was like, I'm turning here, and it just rained, and I had a lot of dirt on my tires, so it's slick, and I just ran right into the tree. And then after I hit the tree, I backed up, and the guy was still back there. And I started going through the parking lot, and they're like, he's still there.
And you got 3 other teenagers in the car with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
He's supposed to stop.
Well, I agree at one instant, but I'll be honest, I have told my children that because previously in Florida around our area, people have been shot, you know.
You mean cars bumped?
Cars bumped, you know, all that
That's why
kind of
the white car may have moved on with 4 men in the car behind them.
I agree.
How do you not do the right thing and then come to court to sue about it?
Because I think he took justice into his own hands. I think he could have taken the license plate down.
Just a second. Do you think that your son was driving recklessly during that time?
I'm not saying he was in the right either, but I'm just...
Listen to me, Ms. Chronister. Then what you have to say is, if my son did something wrong, and as a result of my son doing something wrong, there was damage to my car, you don't come to court and sue over it.
I guess my main problem and concern comes in from when they did get on the main road. And he did come up on the side of them to the point where...
So get him over so that he would stop his car.
And when he did stop his car, he comes out cussing and hollering.
How many minutes did it take for him to chase you down?
Probably 20, 25.
He's on his way home from work.
And I understand that, but it's not even like his car was involved in it. He was supposedly being a good Samaritan, I understand, but I just think he went overboard.
You're entitled to your opinion. As a very, very dear friend of mine says, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You have your opinion, I have my opinion. Ultimately, it's only my opinion that counts. Your son did the wrong thing. He hit a car, he took off from the accident. This gentleman who was just looking to go home after a day's work said, it's not right, they just hit this lady in a car and took off. 4 kids in a Taurus, and I'm going to catch up with him, and I'm going to get his license plate, and I'm going to see to it that he's reported. And your son takes off and takes him on a 25-minute chase. I would have taken away his driving privileges. Did you get him a new car?
No.
Good. Your case is dismissed.
But, ma'am, I have a question, though. After my son wrecked, this is where the punitive comes in, he hits him from behind, gets out of his car with a bat, and follows my son with a bat in his hand, screaming and yelling at him. How is that?
And what did your son do?
My son stood there and yelled. They were yelling. His car was smoking. Then my son went around and went to get the bat, and that's when
Went to get his bat.
Right.
Case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She kept going, like I said.
My intention was only to get his tag number.
No evidence was found that I hit her.
I was bound and determined to get the tag number.
There was no evidence she was ever there.
That's the only thing I was trying to do, is get a tag number.
It's just my word against his, and I guess his won.
I'm just doing my duty.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lopez Chantarasaka versus Muth. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Beverly Lopez and her boyfriend, 20-year-old waiter George Chantarasaka, are suing George's former lover, 19-year-old tutor Saram Muth, for breaking into their home and stealing property.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Chantarasaka.
Chantarasaka. What's your first name?
George.
George. Do you mind?
No.
According to your complaint, this young lady is George's former girlfriend.
Ex-girlfriend.
Former, that's former.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
And it is your claim that she broke into the apartment that you now share with George.
Yes.
Broke the door to your bedroom, vandalized the room, and took some of your property. Your defense is that it's your apartment, and you have the right to go into your apartment because you're on the lease.
Yes.
And you did take some of her property, but that was a mistake.
Yes, I did.
But that you gave it back to her.
Yes, I did.
When did you break up with George?
We broke up a week before I left, which was about May 24th.
And when did you come back to the apartment on the incident that Miss Lopez is complaining about?
A week after June 11th.
And when did you move into the apartment, Miss Lopez?
I think the last week of May.
And you moved in with George?
Yes.
So now he's your boyfriend?
He's been my boyfriend. We broke up for about a month, and that's when he got with her.
So you went from her to her, back to her, is that right? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
You must have some secret something, George, and if you do, it's got to be a good secret, because I don't see it. Now, you came back June 18th. Tell me why you came into the apartment. What were you looking for?
I came back to the apartment to drop off his wallet because he left it in my cousin's car. And I was there to pick up some of my stuff and take it back to California with me. Little did I know, my door was locked. So out of anger, I broke my door knob
off. The door that you had that you say was locked, is that a door to a bedroom that you had shared with George?
Yes.
So it was George's bedroom as well?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I broke off the doorknob, went in, took my stuff, and I also took her stuff out of anger.
And where did you put them when you took them?
I actually took it with me to California, but then I realized my stupidity, and I brought it back the next day. You're lying.
Just a second. Did you get it back?
No, I didn't get any of my stuff back.
Show me that you brought it back and gave it to her.
I have a witness who can't come in because she's a minor.
Well, then if you have a witness that I can't question, then you have no witness.
You're right. I don't. But I did bring it back. Why would she wait for a month to file a report saying that I stole her stuff? I called you and I told you that I wanted my things
Listen,
back.
Miss Lopez, don't speak to her. Speak to me.
Okay.
Did you get your property back?
No, I didn't.
Okay. You have a bill for the replacement of the doorknob?
No, I don't.
No, I don't, no.
but this is the doorknob. This is how it looks when she broke it off.
I don't need the doorknob, madam. She says she broke the doorknob. I need what it's going to cost to fix it.
Well, we don't have the bill.
You have a list of items that she took out of your room?
I have a police report.
Well, you originally told the police, madam, that all the stuff that was taken was original value and current value were the same, $900. Why are you suing her now for $4,500?
Because my things are actually worth more than $900 at the time.
You mean they increased in value since you filed the police report?
No, I didn't.
Listen to me. If you file a police report and they ask you what the value is and you gave them their original value and the current value, I assume that when you filed that police report you were trying to be as accurate as possible. Is that right?
Yes, but at the time I wasn't really thinking because I was really...
Now you're thinking? Is what you're telling me now you're thinking? Heaven help me. You have no right to take up property and you have no proof that you returned it. I have no idea how much it's going to cost to fix the doorknob because you don't bring me a bill.
And she broke my video camera too.
You have a bill to have it fixed?
No, I don't.
Well, what am I supposed to? I'm not a mind reader.
Your Honor, I did not break his video camera.
I'm not considering the video camera because people have to know that when they come to court, they have to be prepared. They have to be prepared with documents. They have to be prepared with receipts. They have to be prepared.
But
I'm speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They have to be prepared with an estimate of what it's going to cost to fix property if there's an allegation of damage. And if you don't have that, the judge isn't going to get it for you. George, you got it?
Yes, yes.
Good. As far as you're concerned, you made this report soon after the incident occurred. You told the police what happened. You told the police what your property was worth. You told them at that time that it was worth $900, which is probably a stretch. Certainly that stretch isn't going to be stretched into $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all. Goodbye.
What is our excuse? You must step out.
I think they're just angry and jealous.
I don't know what I did.
I had her boyfriend for a month. He doesn't want her anymore. She called my phone and made...
Her live-in boyfriend, Frank Bartelli, owes for unpaid rent and a loan for tires. Frank says Diane's drinking forced him to move.
Come to order. All rise. Everybody get up. Be quiet. Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 162 on the calendar in the matter of Starling versus Bartelli. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Miss Starling, Mr. Bartelli was your former live-in boyfriend. And according to your complaint, he owes you a whole bunch of money. He owes you some money for rent. He owes you some money for some court costs that you laid out for him. You want him to pay for new tires for your car. All in all, you're really annoyed with him. I gather that Mr. Bartelli moved out unceremoniously with no notice. Is that right, sir?
I feel I don't owe her the money.
No. You moved out unceremoniously, which means that you didn't have a discussion with her, you didn't sit down and talk to her, you just packed up your things, you decided you had enough, and you just left.
Your Honor, I just fed up with it. I don't feel I should have...
Just say yes. Just say yes. That's what you said here.
Nah, I don't feel it's right.
Oh, this is going to be harder than I thought. I'm going to get to you in a second. All right, Miss Starling. I have to see if I'm playing now with a level playing field. Here we go, because I haven't asked you a question yet. When did you and Mr. Bartelli move into this apartment that you shared?
In October of 2003, Your Honor.
Had you lived together before?
Yes.
And when you moved into this apartment, did you both sign the lease?
Yes, we did.
Can
And I
I
have
see
a copy of that.
I don't think I didn't sign the lease.
Oh, take me back to the family court, please. Okay, so, Mr. Bartelli, it is your statement, sir, that you did not sign the lease. Is that, you did not sign the lease?
I don't remember signing the lease.
Ah, that's a different thing. Shut up. I believe you said I didn't sign no lease. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was a quote, because that was bad grammar. Now you say I don't remember signing the lease. Is that right, sir?
Yeah.
So then, Officer Byrd, would you please show Mr. Bartelli this witnessed signature on the lease?
It's your signature?
Yeah, but I don't remember signing it.
Mr. Bartelli?
You just don't remember.
Mr. Bartelli, that's possible that you don't remember signing it, but that doesn't mean you didn't sign it.
See, me and Miss Starling were together, and she sent roses and flowers to my office trying to get us back together. Then whenever I didn't reply to that, she took and sent me court papers.
Miss Starling, I don't want to hear from you. I want him. He's dying to say this, so you know what my sense is? If I let him say this maybe once, maybe he'll get it out of his system so that when I ask him questions, he'll give me a relevant answer. All right? So, Mr. Bartelli, go to it.
Excuse me?
All I said to you was, sir, the fact that you don't remember signing it is belied by the fact that you did actually sign it in front of a witness. And you started to tell me about flowers and candy that she sent you. And I didn't see how those two things were connected in any way.
Well, me and Miss Starling used to drink, and we quit drinking. We moved to Orlando, and she had lost her job, and her son moved in with us. I feel I don't owe the money because I had to pay that money. And then she started drinking. That's why I left. And then when I left, she started sending flowers and stuff to my job, and then I didn't comply to that, and she sent me court papers.
Now he got it all out of his system, right? That's your whole story, and you're sticking to it,
I feel
right?
I don't owe the money.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Good.
Now we have to go do this my way, which is collect information, right? And then I have to make a ruling on her lawsuit. Do you understand, Mr. Bartelli? What kind of work do you do, sir?
I do carpentry work.
Okay. Which I assume you understand very well. Good. This is what I understand. I understand evidence. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you signed a lease on the apartment in October of 2003. And when did he move out?
April 3rd, 2004.
Now, you moved out, sir, because according to what you said in your mentally prepared statement, she started to drink again, you didn't want to live with her anymore.
Yeah.
So you want to tell me whether you discussed moving out, or you didn't discuss moving out, or you just packed your bags one day and left?
I just packed my bags and left.
If you just packed your bags one day and left, sir, you are still responsible, at least partially, on this lease. You signed a lease, obligating yourself to pay half the rent for a period of time. Do you understand that? Now, why do you think that you shouldn't be held responsible for at least paying the rent until such time as she can secure someone else that she wants to live with, if that's at all possible?
Well, I feel I didn't ask her for money whenever she had lost her job and her son had moved in with us, and I didn't ask for money back for that. So why should I have to pay that?
How much
rent?
were you supposed to pay in rent, Mr. Bartelli?
The rent's $1,000 a month.
So your half was $500? And how did you expect her to cover the other $500 a month for the remainder of the lease?
Yeah, but see, I didn't ask her for money for the electric and food and stuff like that.
I paid her. Okay. All right. Now, you also claim that you helped him out when he was arrested a while ago by giving him $500 to pay for some bad checks that he had written. And Mr. Bartelli, you don't deny that you had gotten yourself into some criminal trouble.
No, I don't deny, but see, all of our money was in together.
No.
She might have
Listen to me.
paid that, but I paid this.
Listen!
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So is what you're telling me after you wrote this series of bad checks, you decided to open up a joint checking account with you?
No
way. No, just to say.
Right, no way.
And later today,
I reached back and pulled the chair up so I could sit down. He had pulled that chair, and I fell down. And I yelled, "Philip, why did you move that chair?" He laughed.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diane Starling says ex-boyfriend Frank Bartelli owes for unpaid rent and a loan for tires. Frank says he and Diane shared their money.
Let me remind you what you said, sir, in your answer. You said, I don't deny that she gave me the money for these bad checks.
Yeah.
How did you pay her back for the jail bail money?
Well, she had borrowed the money from her brother. And like I said, we worked and all of her money was in one bank account. So she might have took the money out to pay that, but we took my money out to pay other bills. So all of our money was in the same account.
But you said that she borrowed that $500 from her brother.
Yeah, she paid her brother.
So if she borrowed that $500 from her brother, did you pay her brother back the $500?
Yeah, she sent checks to her brother.
She sent her checks to her brother for the $500.
Mm-hmm.
And the $500 was coming out of a bank account that you both pooled your money for household expenses. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No, everything.
What's everything?
All of her money was in the same account. My whole check gets deposited, and hers did too.
Well, was this bad check money an expense that you anticipated?
No, this is all of her money was in the same account.
Try to listen to what I'm saying, Mr. Bartelli. When you wrote the bad checks, did you know you were going to have to pay them back?
Yes.
So why did you write them?
At the time, I didn't have no money, didn't have a choice.
So it was always your intention to pay back the money for the bad checks, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
In what year did you write the bad checks?
2002.
And when did they finally catch up with you?
2003.
On what checking account did you write the bad checks?
That was out of my checking account.
Why didn't you use your joint account that you had with her?
Because we didn't have that account at that time.
So is what you're telling me after you wrote this series of bad checks, you decided to open up a joint checking account with you? No way.
No, just a savings. I just got a savings. I just got a savings account. She got a
So you
checking.
didn't have a joint checking account?
No.
No.
Please.
All right. Now let's get to the tires. He used your truck, and after he left, you found the tires needed to be
They were
replaced.
bald.
They were
With
bald.
wires
Well,
showing
that's
this
your
much.
fault. Listen, Diane, darling, you let him use the truck, right?
Right. I didn't notice they were so bad.
Listen to me. Well, you should have noticed. Mr. Bartelli, I know that you don't feel as if you owe Miss Starling any money, but you do. You can't just decide that you are fed up and pack up your bags and move out, because that's immature and it's irresponsible and it's sticking someone else with a big obligation that they didn't anticipate paying by themselves. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So you owe her $2,500 for the rent. She also helped you out by borrowing money from her brother, and you didn't pay her back. Despite all your speeches, you didn't pay her back. So I'm entering a judgment in the plaintiff's favor in the amount of $3,000. Do the right thing, Mr. Bartelli, that's all.
Parties are
Thank you.
excused. You may step out.
I think it went very well. I'm glad that Mr. Bartelli is being held accountable for what he did to me.
She just upset because I left her.
Well, I wanted to ask him to step outside, but he was too small.
She just left messages begging me to come back, and I wouldn't do it.
I missed him. He was a good guy, basically.
I hope we could be friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Elliott versus Worsham, step forward, please.
Plaintiff Sheila Elliott is suing casino owner Ken Worsham for pain and suffering due to an accident in his casino. Sheila says she fell to the ground when a worker removed a chair from underneath her during a game of Texas Hold'em.
Mr. Worsham, do you operate a casino? Is that what you do?
Yes.
Where is the casino?
Sacramento.
According to what I've read, Miss Elliott, you were playing some sort of a game, Texas Poker?
Texas Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em. I'm trying to figure out how this game was played, but I gathered that there were 10 players to start with. Is that right, sir?
Normally there's 9.
And when one person leaves, they take away that spot, and it goes to fewer people and fewer people, almost like musical chairs. Miss Elliott was playing this Texas Hold'em, and according to you, you went to sit down, and one of the employees of the casino had removed the chair that you were going to sit on. Is that right?
At the time, the chair was there.
Well, when you went to sit down, the chair wasn't there.
Yeah, when I went to sit down, it was gone.
And you fell.
Yes.
And you want Mr. Worsham
Worsham.
to pay you $5,000.
Yes.
What time did you start to play Texas Hold'em?
I started there early in the afternoon.
What date? Can we date?
On the 2nd.
2nd of what?
Of January.
And what time did this incident happen when you fell?
It happened like, to my recollection, I would say 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Anybody have a different time and date?
Yes, it happened about 6:30 a.m. in the morning.
So she fell about 6:30 a.m. in the morning.
That's
How do you
correct.
know that, sir?
We had a tape of it, of the incident.
And that's what the tape indicates?
Yes.
Okay. Is that possible?
No, it happened before then. Now, what his tape is showing, it could be. I didn't see this tape. I asked to see the tape.
That's not what I asked you.
Okay.
I said, could it have been at 6:30?
No, I believe it was before 6:30.
Who was the employee who was moving around the chairs?
Mr. Philip Leon.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheila Elliott says She was injured during a game of Texas Hold'em at Ken Warsham's casino. Sheila says a casino worker removed her chair while she was trying to sit down.
Miss Leon, you're an employee of Mr. Worsham's?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what time this incident happened?
I come and see play on the table and
What
around
time?
6:30.
You moved a chair, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me why you moved the chair?
Because got a player get off the table, so I get off the table. So I ask anybody want to move the chair. We have 10 seats.
I'm not, Mr. Worsham, you're going to have to act as partial
Okay.
translator for me. I'm not following this.
Okay, well, he asked if anybody was going to move seats. And then when no one said they were going to move, then you take a chair out.
Okay. Is that what was basically happening? One chair was being taken away?
No, ma'am.
Well, tell me what your version of these events are.
My version is it was late in the morning.
Okay, go ahead.
There were approximately about 6 to 7 players at the table, not 10.
Okay.
And not that many chairs.
Okay.
So what happened was Philip was reading a book for about maybe 30 to 40 minutes. So when I noticed that it was a few players and I had been sitting in this one particular seat for so long, I looked over at him reading the book. I said, Philip, can I move into that seat? He said, yeah, go ahead. Just like that. So it was me, a chair, and the third chair, the one I want to move into. So I didn't go behind the chairs. I came in front of the chairs. And I put my hand on the table like you normally do, as I do all the time. I reached back, because the chair, I felt the chair on the calf of my leg. I reached back to pull the chair up so I could sit down. No chair. He had pulled that chair immediately. And I yelled. I said, Philip, why did you move that chair? And he said, oh, and they all started laughing. He laughed. That's what made me so mad. And when I fell down, my shove fell on my left shoulder. And when I fell down, I felt something like in the back of my neck, back of my head, like, and they was going to pull me up with this arm. And I said, no.
Miss Elliott, after you fell down, did you find a chair?
No, the chair wasn't there.
Shh. Did you find a chair to sit and continue playing that morning?
After they got me up?
Yes.
Yes, yes, I did.
And how many hours did you continue to play after you fell on your behind?
Now,
just a second. Just answer my question. How many hours did you continue to play?
I stayed for several hours. I stayed there.
How many?
Oh, I
1
stayed
hour,
all, no.
2
no,
hours?
No, I stayed all that day.
3 hours.
All
day?
Yes.
And I read your papers, and you said that after you fell, however, you felt a little woozy, and you went to the bathroom, and you took a Vicodin.
Yes, right.
Where'd you get the Vicodin from?
I carry Vicodins with me all the time.
For what?
Because I had back surgery back in '92.
So
and
you
when I have back
92
problems,
was 12 years ago.
I have back problems, and ever since I had the back surgery, I've been on pain medication.
So you take pain medication for your back?
Not frequently now, but I just carry it with me in case.
Carry it with you just in case you
yes,
fall.
If I get, yes.
And
not,
you sat
in
and
case
played,
I fall.
Miss
No.
Elliott, and you sat and played all day that day. Is
Waiting
that right?
for him to come in.
I don't care what. Listen,
Yes,
Miss Elliott,
okay.
listen to me very carefully, my dear.
All right.
This is not windfall day. What Mr. Worsham said to you when you approached him, because you waited for him all day instead of going to a hospital if you were injured because you couldn't move your shoulder, because your shoulder was all out and your back is out and you're taking Vicodin. You go to a hospital. You go to a doctor. You don't continue to play Texas Hold'em. Elliott, Mr. Leung, didn't purposely pull a chair out from under you. He wasn't playing a Halloween prank. You weren't injured. You only get paid if you're injured, even if he was negligent. And people who are injured don't stick around for a whole day and play Texas Hold'em, Miss Elliott. Do we understand each other?
I understand you.
Very good. Now, you offered her $500?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you offer her $500?
Well, she kept asking me what I was going to do for her, and I told her nothing, and she came back in and asked me again, and I finally said, okay, I'll give you $500. And she said, is that all I get? And I said, yes, that's all I'll give you. And she left again, went back and played cards.
What time was this? Do you recall?
This was another day. This was about 3 days later. In fact, I believe it was on a Monday or Tuesday.
You mean she came back, her injuries resolved, and she came back 3 days later?
Yes.
Is that right?
I came back to see him, not to play cards.
But you did play cards.
I wait while I was waiting for him. Yes.
Miss Elliott, courts have important business to take care of. It is not the role of courts to allow people to abuse them with nonsense lawsuits. Your lawsuit is nonsense. You were not injured. If you were injured,
Yes, I
you would.
was.
No. If you were injured, a person of your age knows that if you fall on the floor and if you're injured, you don't sit around all day playing cards. You take care of your injuries. That's what you do. You chose not to do that. And you chose to come back a couple of days later to see him again, to ask him how much money he was going to give you. And while you were waiting, you weren't injured so much that you couldn't sit down and play a few games of Texas Hold'em or wherever else you were going to play. So, Miss Elliott, this is not a windfall day against Mr. Worsham. He offered you $500. You should have taken it. You didn't. He's not offering it anymore.
I didn't
Your
come back
lawsuit's
to him.
dismissed. That's
Okay,
all.
thank you.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Number one, this man.
Friend, waitress Cynthia Clark, for unpaid loans to pay her bills. Cynthia claims the money was paying for her trips to see Martin.
That's case number 215 on the calendar in the matter of Carroll versus Clark. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Carroll, I've read your complaint, and according to your story, you met the defendant on a dating website over the internet. You began a long-distance relationship, and over the course of that brief relationship, you loaned her a substantial amount of money.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And then she broke up with you. She told you she had a new boyfriend. You want your money back.
Correct.
Ms. Clark says she never borrowed any money from you. You gave her money. The money that you advanced to her were gifts. She owes you nothing. When did you find each other on the internet?
I believe about October of last year.
How old are you, sir?
27.
Where do you live?
I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
And you?
I live in Martinsville, Virginia.
How old are you, Ms. Clark?
27.
How many children do you have?
I have 5 children.
When you met on the internet, did you tell Mr. Carroll about your 5 kids?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, she.
You were looking for an instant family?
It didn't matter to me. She seemed like a nice person, so I wanted to get to know her better. And the fact that children never bothered me. I love kids, and I don't have any of my own, but I do have a niece who I adore, and I like children, so that condition didn't bother me.
When did you first meet in person?
Weekend of Halloween.
And how often did you see her?
After that, she came to see me about every other weekend, if not every weekend.
And she would come with or without her children?
She'd come with her children.
Did you all get along?
Yeah, got on pretty great. I took care of them for Christmas, and I bought them Christmas presents, which those were gifts. And then about the beginning of last year, beginning of this year is when I started loaning her the money.
When did you break up?
Beginning of May of this year.
Who broke up with whom?
She called me and told me she didn't want to continue the relationship. She said she needed more time in her life with no men in her life and wanted to get her life straight without a relationship, and that she wanted to stay friends and then maybe one day pick her relationship back up where it left off.
Okay, but you had a new boyfriend at that point?
Not at the time. After a little while, I did start seeing somebody else.
When?
A couple weeks.
A couple of weeks. Waited that long, did you?
It was mainly, I was trying to be nice. It was mainly because we argued all the time.
About what?
Pretty much any little thing you could imagine. Every time we were on the phone, we argued.
Okay. Is this the boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he here for any reason?
My witness.
For what?
Money that he was never said that it was a loan.
Well, how would he know that?
Because he was a friend of mine and he was with me all the time.
So you mean while you were dating Mr. Carroll and asking him for money, what's your name?
Triton Horton.
What?
Triton Horton.
First name?
Triton.
Triton. I have to tell that name to my daughter. She likes peculiar names for her children. That's one I haven't heard. Anyway, so Triton was around while you were dating and borrowing money from Mr. Carroll.
I wasn't borrowing any money from Mr. Carroll.
Taking money from Mr. Carroll. How do you like that better?
No.
So Triton was around while you were taking money and seeing Mr. Carroll. That's either a yes or a no, Miss Clark.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he became your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
2 weeks after you dumped Mr. Carroll.
Yes, ma'am.
Does he live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Since when?
He's been living with me. Well, he lived with me even when we were together. So did his witness.
So, what's your name?
Myra.
Myra lived with you?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you two meet?
In Virginia Beach. I brought her and her boyfriend back home with me because they...
You met through the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
And she came to live with you, and you were living with yourself,
myself at the time.
Your 5 children, Triton, and Myra.
Actually, they lived with us first, and then Triton had moved in when he had lost his apartment.
He lost his apartment because he didn't have any...
Money.
Money. How much money did you give to her over the period of...
Over the course of January through May, I loaned her well over $5,000 via Western Union, which I have receipts right here for every single one.
Now, tell me how it would come about that you gave her this money.
She would call me and like say, you know, I need my bolts are broken on my car, I need to get replaced, or my kids are sick.
Shh, just a second.
My kids are sick, or I'm sick, I need money for food, or you know, I need money for Easter, I need money for car repairs, I need money for my bills, my wife's about to get shut off, my rent's overdue, I'm going to get kicked out of my house, please, honey, help me out.
Please, honey, help me out. And what did you say to her?
Absolutely. I mean, I cared about her and I cared for her children, so I was going to be willing to look out for them. And since we were supposedly dating at the time, I wanted to make sure she was taken care of. So I loaned her the money.
Well, so far I haven't heard anything about a loan, Mr. Carroll. So far I've heard, babe, can you help me out? And you said, I said, sure, because we would, listen to me, Mr. Carroll. Because I said, sure, you know, we were a couple, we were together, I cared for her, you know, and she needed money, so I wanted to help her out.
Well, it was all under the condition she would also say, you know, I promise I'll pay you back. And Myra here, who was with her almost every single time, she would say, I promise I'll pay you back. And I said, well, I need the money back. And I can't just be giving out all this kind of money and not get it back. And I need some, redemption at one point or another. And she's like,
no,
promise I'll pay you
Mr.
back.
Mr. Carroll, let me tell you something. Don't embellish when you come to court, because I can hear her saying, honey, I promise I'll pay you back. As soon as I get a job, I promise I'll pay you back. But I don't hear you saying to her, listen, I need some redemption at some point. And that I don't believe. I believe she probably said to you, honey, I promise I'll pay you back. So don't embellish. Because when things don't sound right to my ears, they're usually not true. We understand each other, Mr. Carroll?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was always asking for money. Well, the twins are sick and I need some money, please, so I can get their medication. Yes, she would use some of the money to get the medication, but she was also using the money to buy illegal drugs.
And later today...
Don't stand there and make excuses. You know, you can't get by on good looks. Beauty fades. We're not. Ladies, beauty fades. Dumb is forever.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Martin Carroll says ex-girlfriend Cynthia Clark owes for unpaid loans to pay bills. Martin's witness, Myra Edwards, claims Cynthia used the money to buy drugs.
Can I see those, please? What did he give you the money for, Miss Clark?
One time he sent it for Easter to help get my kids Easter baskets. My twins got sick and he had sent me money for medication. Another time he'd send me money to go down to see him because I couldn't afford a trip by myself. I wasn't working at the time, and I do have 5 children, and he wanted to see me, so he would send me money to come see him.
Go ahead, let me hear the rest.
He also had sent me money to fix my car, well, to get another car because my car was messed up.
All this money that he was sending you, it came out as a result of you placing a telephone call to him to say, honey, I need money, because otherwise he wouldn't have known. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you called him and asked him for money.
Most of the time he offered it to me, but I would talk to him about the problems, and he would offer it to me. You know, I'm here for you. I love you. I'll do anything for you. If you need the help, you know, I'm here for you. I'll send you the money.
Now, all the time he was saying that to you, and you were telling him that you needed money for all these things, Mr. Triton over here, he was living in your house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And not working, because he didn't have any money, which is why he got thrown out of his own house. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Myra, you were living at her house.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you ever present when these phone calls were made,
yes,
asking for money?
Phone calls were made regularly from her to Martin, and she was always asking for money. Well, the twins are sick and I need some money, please, so I can get their medication. Yes, she would use some of the money to get the medication, but she was also using the money to buy illegal drugs.
No, ma'am, Your Honor.
Shh, just a second. Did you ever hear her say to the plaintiff anything about paying back the money?
She would be crying to him on the phone, talking about she would pay him back. And then she'd get off the phone with him, well, he's a sucker because he should know that I'm not going to pay him back.
No, ma'am, Your Honor.
Shh. How many rooms are in this house?
3 bedrooms.
You had one?
No, ma'am.
Where did you sleep?
On the couch.
No, ma'am, Your Honor. She slept in my bedroom.
Where did Triton sleep?
In the bed with Cindy.
And when did that start?
Around Valentine's Day, because he got out of jail shortly before Valentine's Day.
What were you in jail for?
Probation violation.
Up here. Probation violation for what?
Failing to do my community service.
Community service on what was the underlying charge? Is not an answer.
Felony gun charges.
Were you sentenced to prison on that charge?
I was sent to a year in Henry County Jail.
So that wasn't your first arrest?
No, ma'am, it wasn't.
Right. Okie dokie. And you got out of jail about Valentine's Day?
Yes, just before.
And you moved right back with Miss Clark?
No, ma'am, I didn't move right in with her.
How many days did it take you to move back in with her?
It was more than a few weeks. I had got my own apartment, and then we made an agreement with Myra and her boyfriend that they could move into my apartment since they were sleeping in Cindy's bed.
Now, when she moved out with her boyfriend, where did you move to?
I moved to the air mattress and the living room floor.
You mean you moved out of your apartment where you had a nice, comfortable bed and you slept on the floor? You want me to believe that?
The apartment was a rat's nest.
And that's why she moved in there, because it was a rat's nest.
That's because she didn't want to live there no more.
Miss Clark, I don't believe that there was a contract that was made between you and the plaintiff that I can characterize as a loan. I think that she would call you, ask you for money, you loved her, you gave her the money because it was your intention that the two of you were going to spend your lives together. That be a fair statement?
I wanted to build a relationship. I don't know how long term, but I wanted to, I was looking after her and kids, and the only reason I did it was on the assumption that she would pay me back. She would always tell me she'd pay me back.
Listen to my question.
Okay.
How did you think she was going to pay you back? With what?
She said
wampum?
She said when she got a job, she'd start paying me back.
Okay, listen. This is somebody whose business is making babies. She's 27 years old. She has 5 children. She has no money. She relies on the largesse of others. She finally got herself a job. She's got a boyfriend who can't, I was going to say who can't get himself arrested, but that wouldn't be true. So you listen to me very carefully, sir. I don't believe that you had what I would consider a valid contract with her to repay you this money. However, I believe that you're entitled to the money from her because I believe she defrauded you. I believe she led you to believe that you were in a monogamous relationship with her. And based on that monogamous relationship that was working towards something that could have been permanent, she was asking you for money. And I believe that all the time she was asking you for money, she was making a fool out of you with Mr. Triton. So she got that money from you fraudulently, and she has to return it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, I did not fraudulate him.
The whole time we were supposedly together, she was cheating on me with Triton.
I should have told him.
She's a lying, trifling.
I'm just glad it's over.
Just watch your back.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Henry versus Parsons, Spurlock, Smith. Step forward.
Registered nurse Marianne Henry is suing her son's former friends, 18-year-olds Annie Parsons, Amy Spurlock, and Taylor Smith, for scratching his Honda Civic.
Mrs. Henry, which one of these 2 young men is your son?
Right here in the sport coat, Joshua.
Joshua, you know these 3 young beauties?
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you know them?
I went to school with them.
You were on a camping trip with them?
Yes, Your Honor.
Had you ever dated these girls?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever want to date these girls?
No, Your Honor.
Were you friends?
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your mother's complaint, because you were driving her truck. Is it a truck or a car?
It was a car.
Car. These 3 lovelies decided to pull a little bit of a practical joke, right?
Yes.
Tell me what you did to Miss Henry's car. Well, that was parked at the campgrounds on the 26th of June.
Well, I guess I can tell this part. This whole thing started...
What's your name?
I'm Amy Spurlock.
Go ahead.
Well, it all started because we took Josh's keys because he was really drunk and we didn't know if he was going to drive or we didn't know, so we took him and he was really...
Where did you take his keys from?
My boyfriend took his keys, and then I had his keys. I took the keys from my boyfriend.
Why?
Because Josh was saying that he wanted to leave.
Just a second. That doesn't tell me how his tent got on top of his car.
Well, he became upset with us because we wouldn't give him his keys back. We went up to his tent because he went up there, he was mad at us, and he went up and went to bed.
What did you do when you went up to his tent?
We went up to his tent, and just as a joke, because, you know, he always messes with us. You know, when you go to parties, everybody just messes with people, and we were taking, like, the poles out of the tent to make it collapse or whatever as a joke. And then we did that a few times.
So you took the poles out of his tent and it collapsed on him? Yes. How many times did you do that?
I would say maybe 3.
Then what happened?
And then he got really upset and he came up because his tent was...
Just a second. What happened when he got upset?
And then he came back to our campsite and was like screaming and punching tents and just going crazy.
So he was angry?
Yes.
And then what happened, Amy?
And then we all went back down there.
Who's we all?
Myself, Annie, Taylor. There was...
You're Taylor?
Yes, ma'am. There was like maybe 3 other people.
Okay.
And we all went down there, and he wasn't there, and we were looking for him. And I took the poles out of his tent, like all the way out of his tent. And then I was dragging it over to his car, and another young man put the tent on top of his car.
Why did you go up looking for him?
Because the place where we were is in the middle of nowhere. The only thing there is a Texaco and a prison. And everyone was joking around that night saying that 2 people had escaped from the prison, which I don't know if that's a true story or not. But that.
Why did you go up looking
for him? Because we were concerned for him. We didn't know where he went because he was mad at us. And we went, honestly, we went looking for him because we were going to be like, you know, Josh, we're sorry.
All right, so now you don't find him. You're looking for him, and you're so concerned because these 2 mass murderers have escaped from prison that you pull the poles out of his tent. How did you think that that was going to help find him?
That's not what I was thinking. It was a joke.
No, just a second. But how could you be joking at this point if you're concerned for his safety?
I was angry with him because he had called me names.
Just a second. But then you didn't go up looking for him because you were concerned for his safety. You went up there looking for him because you were angry. Which one is it?
It was pretty much both. I mean...
Get out. Can I see the... Listen, they would know the truth if it came up and slapped them in the face. Can I see the pictures of your car, please?
Yes, ma'am. Here are the pictures of the photos, and I also...
And the estimates to have it fixed.
Ma'am, the estimate came from her body shop that she owns.
I don't give a rat's behind whether it came from her body shop or it came from her nephew's body shop or her husband's body shop. When you do the wrong thing, what happens is you cannot expect to be treated fairly by everybody. You did the wrong thing. Don't stand there and make excuses. You know, you can't get by on good looks. Beauty fades.
We're not...
Ladies, beauty fades. Dumb is forever.
But we're not trying to make excuses. We're just saying that...
You did make an excuse. Put your hand... I'm speaking. You did make an excuse. You said we were concerned. We went up there looking for him because 2 prisoners escaped. Your girlfriend then, because she was so concerned, took the poles out of his tent so that somebody else could drag it over and throw it on his car. Get a life.
But we weren't the only ones there. There were other people there that she's
And this is what you have to do. You have to pay $1,000 to have this car repainted, and if you think somebody else was responsible too, then you can sue them and say, I want to be indemnified for part of the money. But right now, it's your bag. Do you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good! Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I actually was sitting in a tractor when they drove by and watched them do it in the headlights.
There's no way I'm not.
Các em thân mến, chào mừng các em đến với video mới của cô ngày hôm nay nhé. Ở video ngày hôm nay thì chúng ta sẽ cùng giải quyết một bài toán là bài toán tìm x. Ở đây chúng ta sẽ thấy là x sẽ tìm x ở biểu thức này chúng ta đặt là biểu thức A đi ạ. Sẽ là x cộng 1. Tổng của x cộng 2 cộng cho tổng x cộng 3 cộng x cộng 4 và x cộng 5 3 bằng 175.175. Ở đây chúng ta thấy rằng là có 1 số hàng, 2 số hàng, 3 số hàng, 4 số hàng và 5 số hàng. 5 số hàng ở đây thì đều có là x và đây là điều phép cộng thì chúng ta sẽ mở ngoặc tất cả các số hàng này ra. không ạ? Và ở đây chúng ta sẽ thấy này, chúng ta có 1x, 2 lần x, 3 lần x, 4 lần x và 5 lần x. Vậy thì ở đây A sẽ bằng gì ạ? Đây là x nhân cho số lần là 5 lần ở đây, và cộng cho, chúng ta sẽ tách từng số tự nhiên này một. Và A sẽ bằng x nhân 5 cộng với, đây là chúng ta sẽ có là 15, đúng không ạ? Các em thân mến, đối với bài toán này thì những số tự nhiên này từ 5 đổ về là nhỏ, chúng ta có thể tính nhầm. Nhưng mà khi mà cái này sẽ là từ 1 cộng 2 cộng chấm cho đến n, cái n này khá to, thì ở đây nếu như mà các em tính cái tổng này đến số n thì các em phải sử dụng cái công thức tính của cái bài là tổng của dãy số tự nhiên liên tiếp, hay gọi là tổng của dãy số tự nhiên mà liên tiếp và cách đều nhau nhé, thì các em sẽ tính được tổng của cái từ 1 đến n này, đúng không ạ? Bây giờ chúng ta sẽ cho bằng 175.175. Ở đây thì x nhân cho 5 sẽ bằng 175.760. Vậy thì x của chúng ta sẽ bằng 175.760 chia cho 5 sẽ bằng 17 chia 5 được 3, 25 chia 5 được 5, đúng không ạ? 7 chia 5 được 1, 16 chia 5 được 3 và 10 chia 5 được 2. Kết quả x mà chúng ta cần tìm là 35.132, đúng không ạ? Các em chú ý ghi nhớ cái kiến thức mà cô vừa nhắc ở đây, đó chính là tính tổng của dãy cách đều, đúng không ạ? Tổng của dãy cách đều và liên tiếp thì chúng ta sẽ tìm được cái giá trị của tổng này nếu như mà cái số này là n nó rất là to so với số 5, còn ở đây thì chúng ta có thể tính nhầm được.